amazing. Oh, it's clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Water.
For the first time here for season 3. Davis on pole, Vandergren in second. It's going to be sprint round action here tonight. Let's go racing here at Daytona. It was a good start there from Davis in comparison to Vandergren in behind. Cowan's absolutely bogged it up and already dropped out of the top 3 here as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time. There's biffing and barging between Gallen and Cowan. These guys are still going at it after last season. They survived for this time by though. Through turn 2 and 3 they come. Nice and clean, boys. Keep it up as they come up to...
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
Through turn 1, it was a horrible start from De Bono, who's absolutely bogged it up and gets eaten alive by Dixon and Gowans as they come on through. Through turn 1 they come, and they all spread out around in towards the first sector of the Silverstone circuit. They look all right at the moment. Okay, there's already been a car spun round. That's Jordan Ferguson off wide.
Is green, green, green at Road Atlanta here as well. Faulkner did get away. De Bono is tucked in as well. Unfortunately, Houghton is on that outside line. De Bono does want to turn it to turns. He's got the job. De Bono's overtaken. Now can he get Ben Faulkner up through turns for 2 and 3? They go round the right-hander, dropping down the hill. Faulkner's out in front. De Bono second. Houghton third. Ratcliffe in fourth. No real dramas going into turn 1.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
Amazing. Oh, it's clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to snip on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't committed, which is fair enough. Very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we get a good run. Dodds just absolutely think about it. It's a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SRW TV and to the GSRC for the Australian Open Wheel Nationals 2 out at Mugello here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you one of the biggest and the best events that we offer to you every single season. It's the combination. It's the GSRC versus SRW. It's the battle of the brands. It's the battle of the leagues, and it's the battle of competitors on track. 40 of the best that Australia has to offer. The top 20 from SRW, the top 20 from the GSRC, all come for one glorious race. Last time it was won by Sam Chapman, who has raced in both series. He returns tonight to once again try and claim the crown for himself and for the GSRC as well. I'm one of your commentators here tonight, Hamish Munro, joined alongside by my fellow SRW commentator Brad Hudson, and the GSRC representatives as well, Zach Cabin and Daniel Saar. Gentlemen, it's a massive night of racing. It's a massive night for both leagues, the second annual Australian Open Wheel Nationals. Mugello, I was absolutely stoked for this race to be coming back. I was like a small child in a toy section of a store and everything is for free when they announced it was Mugello. I was absolutely over the moon. How are you gentlemen feeling for this race? Because I think we could be on for an absolute barn burner tonight.
Hi, Brad. Hi. I was waiting for you to get the early Christmas references away and say that you were like a kid waking up, heading out under the tree on Christmas morning. We've got that feel about it. There's no doubt about that. Let's be perfectly honest, though. I mentioned this in the lead-up. We thought that this would be an annual event after Sam Chapman's triumph in September. I was like, okay, bring on next September. No, we're going quarterly, ladies and gentlemen. I get the feeling that our colleagues over at SRW are out for some sort of blood and redemption tonight. Time will only tell over the course of the next 60 minutes once the race does get underway. Practice, as you can see on screen there, concluding in about 2 minutes' time. Then we launch into qualifying. What's interesting about this one, Hamish, and I'll go to Daniel as well in just a moment, is last time round the GSRC had visited Silverstone not too many weeks before the race had got underway. Your graphic there at the start highlighted the bleeding obvious, and that is that the last series to race here at the Open Wheel variety for the GSRC was the Road to Indy series, which was the Term 3 offering for us. The boys haven't visited Mugello during their Super Formula Light campaign in Term 4 of 2024. It offers a rare clean slate for these guys that it doesn't offer them any sort of advantage based on last time. As you see on your screen there, folks, David Gallo winning the SRW F1 series, Daniel Byrne the SRW Super Formula Light series, Brendan Grosh winning ours by the barest of margins only Tuesday last week. This circuit more synonymous, I would argue, with MotoGP than it is open wheel racing, but we're going to try and change that narrative tonight. To answer your question in a roundabout sort of way, yes, pumped to get this one going. You stole my opening line, though, because I was looking forward to getting stuck into the good afternoons, the good evenings, and the good mornings, and it's just nice to be broadcasting from New South Wales for this one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as well, how do you feel about, being that it's now, we spoke about it last time, your favourite time of year, daylight savings. And so we are now in daylight savings.
I absolutely love it because last Tuesday morning I escaped from the prehistoric state of Queensland and made my way down here to the beautiful New South Wales Hunter Valley, just gate crashing at Mum and Dad's for the next 5 weeks or so, enjoying the holidays down here. Thankfully, I was able to bring the broadcast gear with me. If anyone hears any outside ambience from my end, it's only Dad mowing the lawn, making the most of that daylight saving you were talking about.
Well, of course, last time real-life open wheel races have been here, Lewis Hamilton was the last man to win at this circuit, as well as Christian Lundgaard for F2, Liam Lawson for F3. Wow, it was that long ago they were here in real life. Liam Lawson won in F3. It was 2020, during COVID. 2023 Euro Formula Open, Sean Shields won the event, so there's some real-life history here. Fastest lap, we're nowhere near going to match that lap tonight, being it was in an F1 car, 118.833 by Lewis Hamilton. 5.2 Ks, 15 corners. It's a tough circuit. I think arguably it feels tougher than Silverstone, but I think it's more rewarding than Silverstone because if you get on a lap around here, you put every single piece of the puzzle together, you feel like you're on top of the world. And I think that's what's going to happen tonight. Qualifying, I think, is going to be absolutely crucial as well, Zach. Daniel, how do you think some of these drivers are really going to have to start to formalise themselves here in qualifying? Do we think we see the GSRC work together? Do we think we see the SRW work together? Or do you think it's just going to be an absolute free-for-all?
Well, I'd like to say that, both leagues will try and help each other, but we're talking about race drivers here. And race drivers tend to only look out for one person, and that's themselves. So I would imagine that everyone's going to go out there for themselves, and if we see some friendly helping, a competition, whatever, so be it. But yeah, these guys are going to have to get into the zone pretty quickly. 15 minutes on the board there. We can see some drivers already on track, and you might be wondering, is that a graphics error that I'm seeing on my screen? Is that just, some flickers on the screen? No, that is debris, and that is because we are now operating under the new season patch, and with that came the debris refresh. So another hurdle in the way for these guys is that they've got to take into account that there can be gravel spread across the track, and that's going to affect grip levels and the way that you attack some corners. So yes, not only is this qualifying going to be spicy, but then they've got to deal with that for a race length.
Sam Chapman, the defending champion, actually, Daniel mentioned that to me earlier today, that might just trip a couple of people up as we go here. So keep your eyes peeled for that, ladies and gentlemen, particularly in those runoff areas where gravel isn't too far away. If any of that gets kicked back up onto the racetrack, that could have an effect going forward throughout the course of what is a 60-minute race. And that's an important point, Hamish. There's two things here. One, we're looking at about 32 drivers out there on the racetrack, maybe 33. They're the only 33 that haven't spent umpteen hours testing out the new Gen 3 supercars on the server, which dropped this morning. I say that, of course, because there's two reasons here. One, your SRW audience were treated to a magnificent Sandown 500 last weekend. And number two, of course, the big content drop overnight, the big patch update as we get ready for Christmas and then a new season. All these guys no doubt will have downloaded that content, but eyes forward and focus on this task at hand first before they go and test out the new supercars. So a lot to look forward to throughout the course of the next 60 minutes. Do you agree with what Daniel was saying with regards to qualifying here? And I guess the other thing as well is when we look at the race, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We have a variety of different race formulas that we could go with, but we've stuck with, there's the first exit stage left there in qualifying. Jackson Dial off the road. Brendan Grosh as well, two of the GSRC boys. Come on, boys, get that out of your system during the qualifying, please. We want to go 2 from 2 here. And then when you look at the race ahead, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We could have gone with any number of different race formats, Hamish, but we're stuck with what we know, and that is one 60-minute shootout.
Yeah, I think it's probably the fairest way to actually determine it. It's one winner, it's one champion, it's 60 minutes for you to race as clean as possible and really get through that race of attrition. I think if we were to run a 20 and a 40 or a 30 and a 30, it wouldn't feel like, they are the one champion, they are the one Australian Open Wheel Nationals winner. They're one of two, where we have the one-off of a 60-minute race. It's like you are the one of one. No one else has won this race tonight. It's just you. You're the one who is better than everyone else. You are the one who went above and beyond against everybody else. As we begin finish our first qualifying laps here in qualifying for the fast laps, Scotty Pocock's gone pole for SRW, Dylan DeBono P2, Matty Keane, who has been an absolute revelation this season, up to P3, Tom Donahue P4, Brett Barker, the first of the GSRC, only P5 ahead of our Season 4 Pro champion, Daniel Byrne.
So already you guys making waves here at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But let's remember too, ladies and gentlemen, these guys could clock anywhere near 7, 8, 9 laps in this qualifying session. It is a 15-minute session. Mark Hilly putting the GSRC up onto the front row in second just now. 0.69 is the advantage that Danny Davison enjoys. That is a staggering margin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the actually it might be 7 of the SRW boys in the top 10. Richard King in 10th, Brett Barker in 7th. Actually, we're missing 8th on our totem pole for some reason there at the moment. And Mark Hilly is there in
I need to add them. Need to add them to
We
the
will
list.
get that
They
sorted.
joined late. Blame them, not me.
As always, yes. We'll blame the fashionably late arrival. Is that something else that we can blame on the aforementioned topic of 15 different time zones that we're catering to at the moment? Jeff Adams up into second as well. Tom Donahue in eighth. So all that's going to change around for you very shortly. Now the GSRC boys are firing some shots, but still Daniel Byrne finds his way to the top. Now Dylan DeBono as well. And that was, I know, Daniel Caressa, you were watching on from afar, like most people will be tonight, watching from the comfort of your lounge last time that we did this back in September. Dylan DeBono was right in the firing line then and at the forefront of one of the main defining moments of that entire outing, that entire affair. Two of the SRW boys, DeBono being one of them, crashing out and paving the way, the seas parting beautifully for our own Sam Chapman to go through and clean up and take the race win.
Yeah, it was crazy. DeBono and Vella had so much pace in that race. And they were putting it all on display. And then 10 minutes to go, lap 26 in the race, they come together just over, and I believe it was turn 4, maybe. They come together, take each other out, and Sam Chapman manages to go through, keep it clean, and take the win for us here at the GSRC. It was a momentous occasion, but I'd imagine that DeBono's probably got a fire burning inside him because of that. So we can see that Vella is not here tonight. I've been informed by the SRW guys that he didn't actually compete in the SFL League this time round. So yeah, DeBono will be out there to prove basically everybody that he probably deserved that win in that first one. And we can see the times coming in now, 36.4 there from Danny Davidson. I still reckon we've got just over half of qualifying to go. That's going to come down. I would imagine we're going to see people in the 35s.
You'd want to hope so. That was certainly the pace that was being set in the earlier practice session. And, I mean, obviously, that's I'm not sure what our time and server conditions are at the moment in terms of track conditions, track temperature, etc. I'm sure that information's coming to us in a matter of seconds. There it is. Early morning and locked clock at 9:10, which is Central European Standard Time. 3 km/h winds, 19 degrees the ambient, 19 the on-track temp as well. And that wind also locked at a northerly at 3 km/h, as you can see on your screen there. So rather pleasant conditions, rather dark for that time of the morning. You're not throwing the spanner in the works for these blokes and giving them a dry qualifying wet race, are you, Hamish?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. We definitely did not tell our drivers 6 weeks ago that we're going to be having a wet race, and the GSRC do not know about it. We definitely did not do that. No, we didn't. But that's one of the challenges, isn't it? It's dealing with the rain. It's one thing that Gen 3 drivers are going to have to deal with now with the supercars. That's got rain. So they're going to have to learn very, very quick how to drive in the rain in that car. I've spoken to drivers who've driven it already. They think it is better than the Gen 2 car. It's harder to drive, which then makes me worried for those who already struggle in the Gen 2 that they're going to have to put a lot of laps in. But I think the opposite end of that, with the SFLs, we've mentioned it quite a lot ever since we changed to it. It's a car that kind of, it's harder to find those little amounts of pace. So when you've got to your crescendo of lap, you're trying to find those little tenths, those little hundredths. Similarly to the gaps between Chapman, DeBono, Davis at the front of the field, it's tough to find those little minute gains across a lap, but it condenses the whole field in its lap time spread. It pulls those drivers who formerly struggled in the F3 up towards the mid-pack or up towards the front of the field because they're more comfortable in this car. This car really rewards you more than what the F3 did. It's a lot easier to catch. And then when you get to the front of the field and you're trying to gain some pace, it's so difficult to get those littlest of gains that in the F3 car, it was a bit easier to get because you could spread yourself further away from the cars in behind. So this car is a pure balancing act. It's pure in the fact of you just got to try and send it as much as possible. There's no DRS, there's no push to pass. It's just turn in and hold on for dear life through a lot of these corners. I think this track's really going to suit these cars well. We've seen it raced here before in the SFLs and SRW, and we had an absolute cracker of a time here. And I think tonight, drivers are going to come out of this race. Number one, they're going to come out of it very, very sweaty because it's going to be a tough slog. Yeah. But they're also going to come out of it proud of themselves wherever they finish, if they manage to actually finish the race, because it's going to be a tough task to do so. And if you finish well, well, your name goes down in history, and all of a sudden you become a bit more of a legend in both communities.
You might also notice as we get going here, folks, I'm certainly noticing it on my timing screen, that there are a couple of blokes lit up in silver at the moment in terms of their position. So we've had a couple of late comers to the party, as Hamish alluded
Those who are silver will be the safety car drivers.
Copy that.
I've fixed everyone now on the list.
I'm just reliably being informed that we've got a couple of safety car drivers in the house tonight, which is good to see. We might need it. We certainly needed the safety car at Silverstone. John Merritt's out there clocking some laps. Dane Snadden as well. Good to see they've jumped in a little bit late in the piece. And also, I did see Daniel Yeaman's name popping up here.
He is out there.
Well, he's already got up into 24th position. Now, so for Yeaman and also for Brendan Grosh, who was there 24th and 25th. Yeaman, the winner of the last round of the GSRC Super Formula Lights Wings and Slicks Championship, proudly brought to us, of course, by our good mate Josh Zuno at JJZ Constructions. Yeaman was the round winner, but Brendan Grosh was the overall champion. He only got across the line by about 7 points in the end over Brett Barker. Those guys are far too deep in the pack at the moment for my liking. Hopefully they're trying to find some clear air to get out there and have a crack and post something a little bit more respectable. But the problem that they're competing with at the moment is they're up against time-wise. Hamish, only 3 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, there's not that much time left. Of course, the beauty, though, of us running an hour-long race, they have until the end of the 15 to start a lap in qualifying. They're not going to get cut off from finishing their lap at the 15 minutes. They just have to start a lap by the end of the 15 minutes. So normally with a sprint, as soon as the 15 minutes finishes, that's it, they get cut off. But tonight, they do have that little bit of bleed over the clock to actually finish a lap time. As De Bono's at the fastest sector in the middle sector, but could not quite get past. And now P2, Adrian Loretti. He proved to myself and Hutto this season that when he puts the laps in, Hutto, he can actually do quite well for himself when he actually does some practice, can't he?
Yeah, it's always good to see Adrian turn a few laps and get his results up early on the board. And yeah, good evening to you guys. Just been backstage watching pit lane and watching the other guys make their way around the track. And sounds to be a fantastic evening, guys.
And as you can see there as well, for our audience at home, our GSRC audience on a Thursday night has been treated to picture-in-picture, side-by-side, the mega wall, as we like to call it, courtesy of Josh Zuno and Daniel Caressa, their handiwork. But, of course, they eyed off what the wonderful crew here at SRW were doing in the first running of the Australian Open World Nationals and said, we want a piece of this. So they've been chipping away at that and fine-tuning it for their own liking last term. So, yes, you'll have picture-in-picture and in different ways tonight as well, folks. As you can see, we've got a couple of onboard shots there for you, not just onboard with the drivers in the virtual sim rig, but also onboard in their actual at-home sim rig, where they're cutting their bread and butter tonight, as far as, or cutting their teeth, to use a horse racing expression, tonight. So, looking forward to that throughout the course of the evening. They've probably got their respective Twitch feeds up and running as well. If you are joining in, feel free to share this around, ladies and gentlemen. Wednesday night motorsport in prime time. We're competing with the Women's One Day International, Australia and India at the WACA. That's about the only other sport on around the country tonight. This is prime time, top shelf, top billing for us. Our second running of the Australian Open World Nationals. We're only a few minutes away off getting started. The GSRC already on the board. The SRW boys desperately wanting to square the ledger, heading into what will be 4 rounds of action next year. And I don't mind doubling up. After what we saw at Silverstone, coming to Mugello, there were 3 other pretty good racetracks on offer, but Mugello ended up being the pick. We go Europe for the second time. Hopefully we'll expand and go, globally, go to another continent, Asia, North, South America, or even Australia into 2025 as a long-standing, well, what we hope will be a long-standing tradition, writes its second chapter here this evening. At the moment, Denny Davison, and have a look who's jumped up into second, Daniel Caressa. Sam Chapman, 0.08 off Davison. So Chapo means business this time round. He qualified in the top 10 last time round. He wants to qualify on the front row tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And if you actually have a look at the top 10, it's a decent balance. between SRW and GSRC. So there goes the checker fair for qualifying. Of course, as Hamish did mention earlier, those who have started a lap before that point will be able to finish it. So maybe we'll see some late changes in the leaderboard there. But for now, Danny Davidson with a 800th gap there to Sam Chapman for pole. And just looking at some of the other times there, I thought we might see people in the 35s, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It's close, though.
Have a look at that. John Merritt pushed his way up into the top 5 in the closing stages of the second, and Daniel Yeaman went from beyond the top 10 to in the top 10. Daniel Byrne displaces him, goes up to P5, Merritt up to 6, Jack O'Dowd to 3rd. Oh, the totem poles going gangbusters here in the closing stages of qualifying as these late Hollywood numbers come in on a flurry, ladies and gentlemen. Chapman is still second. Davison has got pole, so the SRW boys are going to go 2 from 2 on the pole front. Jack O'Dowd, Dylan De Bono, Daniel Byrne, John Merritt in 6th. Adrian Loretti has got his way up into 7th. Brett Barker, Daniel Yeaman, and Mark Hilly, the top 10. Have a look at that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 GSRC, 4 SRW by my count. I might be wrong. But no, it's looking very, very promising for the next 60 minutes. And what we saw, as you know, Hamish, last time round, this can be won from within anywhere in that top 10. So Mark Hilly, Daniel Yeaman, they'll be fancying their chances from row 5.
Yeah, they will, for sure. But one stat I want to put forward to you is SRW had the most drivers in the top 10 after qualifying at Silverstone.
Yep.
GSRC won. So, if SRW win this race, there's a bit of a moz on qualifying. And now, for anyone out there who's watched my other broadcasts, especially vets, I love a good moz. I love a good curse on a driver. I was completely heartbroken that my winner of round 1 never wins the championship curse that was literally running until the end of Gen 2 in Vet Split 2. It ended that season. I was sad for the curse to go, but I was also happy that someone finally broke it. But you know what? This, not that it needs it, how awesome would it be just to get our own little curse going of whoever has more starters in the top 10 doesn't go on and win the race for their league? Like, that would be absolutely insane, right?
Indeed it would be. Indeed it would be. I mean, but that's the great thing about motorsport, isn't it? On a night like this, where it all hinges on this event, this race, you rip up the form guide, you throw it out the window. Chapo proved that at Silverstone. There is the grid for you, in fact, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we took a few moments last time, boys. We took about 5-6 minutes to form the grid up last time round. So I'm wondering whether we're going to have as much time to kill here to shoot the breeze. But there it is. Denny Davison and Sam Chapman, the front row. Jack O'Dowd, Dylan De Bono, the second row. De Bono right in the thick of it once more. Daniel Byrne and John Merritt from 3. Loretti and Barker from 4. Barker prominent all season long in the SFL season for the GSRC. Daniel Yeaman, Mark Hilly, and then, of course, Tom Donahue and Doug Gowans out there, who's also, he's one of those cross-pollination. He's got a toe in both sides of the pond here. He represents SRW tonight, but he's also raced prominently in the GSRC league as well.
Yes, we can see on the 7th row of the grid, Giuliano Sinise and Jeff Adams will line up alongside each other. In fact, for the next 4 rows, it's SRW versus GSRC alongside each other. Gallo, Schmidtke, Brook, and Grotch. Grotch, of course, races in SRW as well as a pro driver representing the GSRC tonight. Your guys defending champions starting all the way back in P18. Jay Dixon, Adam Maverick for your top 20. Then we have Matty Keane, Jason Depp for an all SRW 11th row. Scotty Pocock and Dane Snaden, for P23 and P24. We then look back here, and there's a couple more GSRC guys as well, where we can see an all GSRC row for the 13th row of the grid here. Row? Yeah.
Yep, so Drew Collins and Richard King down there. They'll be hoping to push forward. Eduardo Zamora and Sam Katakazinas from row 14. John Baldwin down there on row 15. Alongside him, of course, is Tyler Sheaf. Callum Rosender, he, of course, was carrying one of our onboard shots there earlier. You saw courtesy of Hamish and the boys, Jamie Davis and Greg Heaney, then Nathan Verney on the outside of row 17. Sean Benici, it's about 3 a.m. in the morning on he's in his neck of the woods, 3 a.m. in Alaska. We say good morning to him, Keegan Caldwell, Darren Fay, Scott Jordison, Mitchell Noble. Now, we know that Scott Jordison is race control I believe. I'm not sure.
Faye and Noble. So Faye didn't set a time. Noble was a late ring in for Pete Ziedler. He actually got the call today to race. So he's a late call in for the SRW boys.
Excellent. So we've got 41 showing on our SRW timing screen at the moment. And there is the pole set up. You boys will be, no doubt, quite happy with the fact that you've drawn first blood tonight. But it means very little once we do start turning wheels in anger for 60 minutes. What we anticipate will be somewhere between 35, 38 laps of racing if we should go green all the way.
Yeah, all of that can swiftly end by the exit of turn 1. Or even the apex of turn 1. Hearts could break very, very quickly in this race. Lights are going to go up, though. We are going to get started. GSRC and SRW time for the Australian Open Wheel Nationals. 60 minutes around Mugello. We are underway. It was a great start from the front runners of the field as they rocket down towards turn number 1. And everyone tries to find any semblance of space that they can as they rocket to the braking zone at turn 1, where we could see moves early. Here comes DeBono on Chapman round the outside.
Big start from DeBono, up already into third spot. Got the better of Chapman, who's lost 2 spots off the line. It was a good launch from Jackson Doyle to tuck his way to second spot as well. Then it's SRW, GSRC, SRW, GSRC. Daniel Yeaman up to 8th spot, and Brett Barker now being displaced by Tom Donoghue, 9th and 10th as they make their way through. Barker wanting to force the issue as well, and keeping Donoghue at bay. Hilly now getting up on his outside, trying to capitalise on that, and does so very nicely. So the latest recruit for Whiskey Business Racing, Mark Hilly, gets his way to the top 10 in the early stages.
So there's been a couple... has been called. Oh, yep, I'm not surprised. There were a couple of incidents that I saw in the background. We will quickly run through them whilst they come around towards the safety car as well. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was down at turn 1. I know that Sheafy's had an off track. John Baldwin's also been off track as well, but I'll just try and find
well.
Yeah, so I'll find the actual incident for us. This is what has happened down at turn 1. So you see, I think that was Rose and Nita in the middle of that pack. Sheafy on the outside. Oh, they got entangled.
Jeez.
That's a shame there.
Well, we didn't even have to wait to turn 1, as it seems, as it would play out, ladies and gentlemen. Our first incident of the night. And then that as well on the way through the kitty litter at turn number 2. So unfortunate that we've got a safety car on lap 1. It was mid-race last time round, boys. It's lap 1 this time round.
So just quickly as well, one thing we're also going to have to be careful of, we saw Sheafy go through the turn 2 kitty litter. We'll have to watch out for debris now down at turn 2 and turn 3.
Indeed, we will. Now, here's the other thing too, Daniel. Unfortunately, that's 2 of our blokes gone. John Baldwin, Eduardo Zamora gone. Matt Keane using this opportunity to dive into pit lane early. He's about the only one. 1 minute 54.463, the standing lap time for Denny Davison. And here's the other thing as well, boys. 2 things here. Immediately once the safety car was called, they were out of the throttle. That they know that if they get enough safety cars, they lose enough time on the clock, they could potentially stretch this into a one-stop race.
Yeah, it is a definite possibility. Daniel, I mean, who do you think out of the GSRC is going to try and save fuel to go for a one-stop, most likely?
Sam Chapman.
Yep.
I don't even have to think about that one. Sam Chapman has shown literally every time he gets onto a racetrack, I reckon the first thing that goes through his brain is how much fuel can I save? He's managed. It's like a personal challenge for him. So I'd imagine that he's the one that's going to be doing this. The only thing I want to point out though is this start is eerily similar to the actual F1 start in 2020.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that we had an incident in turn 1 and people were going off coming up into turn 2. Now, my hope is that we don't have the same type of restart.
That's true.
Yeah, I hope we don't, because I saw a video of that the other day, and it was nuclear, to say the least. It was absolutely nuclear.
But here's the other thing as well, boys. You have to remember this. iRacing hasn't yet introduced the red flag, unlike the EA Sports F1 games of the last couple of years. So even if we do have a repeat of what transpired back there in September of 2020, we won't get a repeat of the procedure that followed, which is the stop, bring everybody into pit lane and reset and go again. Maybe that's somewhere down the pipeline for iRacing, I'm not sure. But already, yes, prominent, important to note, the debris has been noted. And we're just waiting now, potentially for a restart as quickly as this time by Hamish.
Yeah, safety car has pulled away, it seems. So
Wow.
Safety car's in pit lane. Danny Davison will have control of the field. I have a feeling he may go apex of the last corner just to try and catch a couple of boys out. One driver to keep an eye on this restart, Dylan DeBono. He was arguably driver of the season last season at SRW. He missed out on the title to 2 races where he crashed out to no fault of his own. If it wasn't for those 2 runs, he likely would have won the championship. He is hungry to win this title tonight. You said it right there, Mr. Saar, that he was very disappointed last season when he didn't win. Davison's gone green, though. We are underway. And he tried to put it all into his championship hopes last season, but he just missed out. So you're right. DeBono is hungrier than ever. Davison will be hungry too. So will Dial. Chapman will want to go back-to-back as Merritt and Byrne go side-by-side into one. Davison's trying to hold off Jackson Dial. DeBono's right there with him as well as they run up towards turn 2 and 3.
2-on-1. Dial's being ganged up on here, you suspect. He's got DeBono right behind him. Davison right in front of him. Already some wheels being thrown wide on the exit of turn 3. They head down to turn 4 for the 3rd time, the 2nd time under green flag conditions. DeBono, Chapman, Byrne, Merritt, Loretti, Yeaman, Hilly and Donahue, the top 10. Not too much fuel saving done that last time round. 3 minutes and 3 seconds the lap time, ladies and gentlemen. So already we're nearly 6 minutes into this thing. DeBono's gone! DeBono's gone! Wow.
And your heart has to break for him there because he's hungry to try and do well in this race tonight. The one positive that can come from that, though, is it happened within the first 6 minutes. And if it happens to him, it could happen to anyone else. And there's still 50-odd minutes left for it to happen to other drivers. So he could still come back from this as Richard King's gone off the road as well for the GSRC.
So Kingy's had a moment and brought some kitty litter back onto the track with him onto the racing line. And he's going to drop all the way down outside the top 30 now, I think you'll find. Yes, down to 36th position. Eduardo Zamora, John Baldwin, importantly enough, boys, rejoined the circuit just before we went green. So lap traffic may become a factor later on in this race as they make their way down the main straight once more. He's Byrne up on the outside of Chapman. Got him. Job done on the run to turn 1. Can Chapman force the issue and fight back on the inside? No, he's happy to tuck in and follow through. And that'll work nicely with what Daniel Correa-Sar was alluding to earlier with regards to his fuel-save methodology. Now, important to note as well, boys, didn't get a chance to mention this before we got going. Matt Keane, Dane Snadden, Keegan Caldwell, and also Tyler Sheaf to pit lane during that safety car period. So we mentioned Keane, but 3 more decided to jump in there and tidy things up as well.
That could be a very smart play from all those drivers, especially if we continue to get safety cars as John Merritt's off the road.
He's not the only one.
No,
Hilly's gone as well.
Yep. So we're just trying to grab him here. So Hilly's back on the road. It appeared that Merritt is still, he's just started going again. So he's out on the outside of the track. He's just trying to get himself sorted and get his bearings back together. But it's tightly contested already here. I mean, just who would have guessed that we would have had such a contested race? Definitely not us after last time. I mean, they're fighting tooth and nail, and you love to see it because they're battling for supremacy. They're battling for the pride of their league that they race for, but also for the personal pride and the bragging rights to say that you are the best driver in 2024 Season 4, whoever raced the SFLs for the GSRC and SRW.
And Daniel Correa-Sar can vouch for this. Chapo's been dining out on his success at Silverstone for 3 months.
I think he'd be running on that one till it's empty, I would say. Probably till about 12 months' time.
Daniel Byrne, fastest lap of the race as well, boys, at the end of lap 4, 136.467. Your thoughts so far, Daniel, as we watch Tom Donahue on the bottom right-hand side of your screen make a move for 7th.
Oh, and he takes it up on the inside. Looks pretty clean. Nice move. Yes, up into 7th. He does. Yeah, look, it's been a good start. A little bit chaotic. We've already seen one safety car, so hopefully maybe we keep that one just the one, but time will tell. We've got an hour on the board as we're on board with Adam Lavis there, who is also another person notorious for fuel saving, I might add.
Yes.
So
And
yeah,
Sean
great
Benici
stuff.
in the pit lane as well, boys. I just wanted to get that one in. Sean Benici on pit road, and a couple of off-track alerts coming up on screen at the moment. But Sean Benici means that there are 3 now GSRC boys, unfortunately, at the bottom of the ledger.
Yeah, it appears that drivers are struggling early. I have to wonder if it's the debris that's catching drivers out, or maybe they're just pushing a little bit too hard too early.
Yeah, I think, look, I with those early offs, and I think what's happened is now from the iRacing patch, as they just get a little bit of wheel contact out, from the iRacing patch notes, they had alluded that the only part of the track that will get reset in terms of this debris stuff is pit lane. Everything else works the exact same as it would with the evolution of the track when it comes to marbles. So yeah, maybe it's catching people off. I'm not even sure exactly what happened to De Bono, if maybe he got caught out by debris and it kicked the car out, or if he just had a little bit too much throttle application. But yeah, I think with this new patch, nobody got to practice it because it was sprung upon us this morning. And now everyone's trying to contend with race pace, as we see Rosender here getting boxed in.
Yes.
Will he try and shoot to the left for the 3 wide? Yes, he will. Will it work?
Why not?
Oh, Mark Hilly's
Oh,
gone
no,
wide
trouble.
at turn 1.
No,
Jeff Adams
Jeff
is there
Adams.
too.
Adams is off the road. There's a bit of Blinky Bill going on as well.
Oh, someone
And
else is
Daniel
spun.
Byrne's gone! Daniel
no.
Byrne is gone! Can you believe that? Byrne pointing the wrong way! One of the race contenders! Spotting the dust early! Oh boy, it goes both ways. Both the GSRC and the SRW contenders being whittled out early here, unfortunately.
Oh, and I just have to point out, so Sean Benici has just chimed in on the live chat on the GSRC side that he and De Bono got together. So it wasn't just on Bono, it was unfortunately an incident there that caused him to spin.
So Benici's got back out there, but again, a lap down, Hamish.
Yeah, he is a lap down, and we do apologise for these blinking issues. This is, I've come to find out, an iRacing issue where it sends everything down one core. So there's not really much I can do about it until it decides it wants to play ball. So we'll, luckily we have got the second screen as well. Hopefully it kind of settles itself down. It appears that it has. I have found the Dylan De Bono incident though, gentlemen, so we can find out if it was debris that sent him off the road, or if he just washed. Oh no, he just washed it a little. I think he might have just washed a little bit wide off the rear. Bit of understeer happening.
Matt Schmidtke, Matt Hilly Mark Hilly into pit lane. Schmidtke and Hilly to pit lane, boys.
So they are in pits.
Now have got underway.
Yep. So lap
Whether
7.
they're scheduled or not.
Yeah, I don't know if they are.
I don't think they are. But I mean, we saw that Hilly was off the road earlier. Schmidtke, I'm not 100% sure about. 4.63 seconds would suggest that they are unscheduled stops for the boys, and they are back out there in the race. And now Tom Donoghue showing off the road as well. There he is. Oh, in the gravel. Geez, the gravel is claiming a few tonight. It's reeling them in, spitting them out. And Drew Collins as well, bottom right. So off-track alerts lighting up left, right, and centre. Meanwhile, at the front, Daddy Davison's gone 1:36.355. Fastest lap of the race. Jacko Darlin matching that all but 300ths of a second. 1:36.385 for his PB that time around as well.
I've just started sharing my screen instead of using the virtual camera just to see if that fixes the blinking. So, yeah, hopefully that fixes it. Hopefully it settles it down for us. But yeah, we've had to turn off the virtual cam for the moment. We'll see if it sorts itself out. Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, we may have to just turn some settings down, and then hopefully that fix it for us. But at the moment, Danny Davidson leads the way. Jackson Dial, P2. Sam Chapman, P3. Adrian Loretti. Daniel Yeaman, your top 5. Brett Barker, Giuliano Sinise, Doug Gowans, David Gallo, Brandon Grosh, your top 10, as Davison is 0.7 of a second ahead of Dial. He's just trying to get this thing out of tow reins, but Dial is starting to come back at him.
Dial's doing a great job of controlling the pace there, controlling that buffer. You watched bottom right of screen, you got Brett Barker there all over the back, and Giuliano Sinise, like a cheap suit, Doug Gowans and David Gallo latching onto that fight as well. But big movers and shakers so far, boys. Daniel Yeaman up 4 spots, Sinise up 7, 6 for Gallo, 8 for Brendan Grosh from 18th on the grid. Now GSRC Turn 4 champion in the SFL, category is up 8 spots early on. Jay Dixon, Adam Lavis up 7 each. Jason Depp and Scott Pocock up 8. Sam Katakazinas up 11. Darren Fay up 19 spots, by far and away the biggest mover on the racetrack thus far.
We saw him start from the back of the field. Did not set a qualifying lap out on the field. Did Darren Fahey. In comparison to that, Mitch Noble, who also did not set a lap time in qualifying either, is currently in pit lane and has been in pit lane he's just exiting pit lane now, actually. So he's in P34. He's up a little handful of positions for himself. He comes out just ahead of Drew Collins. As they go onto the main straight, Darren Fahey, though, runs it wide at the final corner. That's a bit of gravel that's been brought onto the road. Actually, it wasn't the final corner. It was just before the final sector. But that's one thing they're going to have to be careful of now. If they run it wide there, they're going to catch that debris and could find themselves off the road.
There's another thing to keep in mind with that too. It's not just the fact that cars can bring debris onto the racetrack where they come back on. The debris can be affected by the aero. Yep. So these cars, they suck air, they get ground effect underneath them. They're going to carry that debris forward. So if these drivers have been making slight mistakes because of that, it's going to get worse and worse. They've got to try and get this stuff under control. Otherwise, once we get to where the tyres are worn, it's going to be like everyone's on ice skates.
Yeah, can I also point out, too, boys, Darren Fahey, Dane Snadden arguing over the same piece of real estate. So too Sam Katakazinas. But Matt Keane and Dane Snadden were rear of grid after the safety car restart because they came in and topped up whilst the safety car was out on the circuit. They've moved their way back inside the top 20, 16th and 17th on a real charge, the pair of them. And Teneso's just punched out the fastest lap of the race.
Well, boys, Brett Barker!
Oh, Brett Barker! GSRC contender in the dirt!
I have a feeling that there is some debris down there, gentlemen, because that is the same spot that Daniel Byrne went off only 6 laps ago. So I reckon there is some gravel, at least on the inside of that corner, and it's catching some drivers out.
It's tripping them up.
Look at the tyres. Look at the tyres. Look how much he's dragging onto the circuit. And I just wonder maybe...
a competitor there, Daniel.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe we can get a replay up of that incident just to see if, in fact, it was.
Yep, we'll grab that up now.
Because, yeah, that was fast. He went off the track fast.
1:36.287. Danny Davison goes fastest lap of the race. We're right on board now with Giuliano Sedese, who's restored the fastest lap of the race in his favour. 1:36.172. He snatched that back off. Davison momentarily.
So I just want to point out I saw debris then on the right-hand side of the road just before he turned in. So I reckon there is some debris at that point of turning on the corner, and it's causing drivers to go off the track.
So debris, a real talking point already, Daniel.
Yeah, it's huge. Look, and you could see just how much it had accumulated on the tyres when he was coming back onto the track. So again, this is something that they worry about in the real world. You've got times where they'll get the marshals out to sweep the track. You don't get that in iRacing; it stays there. So these guys will have to manoeuvre that accordingly. Because as great as these cars are at high speed, unfortunately, when they lose traction, they lose it just as fast.
Oh,
but
Davis
for the
is
guys
off
up
the
the front,
well. Just quickly, Davis is off.
I put the mocker on him. I was just about to mention how good he was going, and so I apologise there, Danny. That might have been my fault.
Oh boy, the pressure stakes are high here. Danny Davison, 1.5 clear of Jackson Dial at the front. Sam Chapman, the defending SRW, GSRC, AOWN. How's that for 3 acronyms on the trot? Champion is third. Lorenzi, Yeaman, Senese, fastest lap of the race last time around, 1:36.172, rounds out the top 6. He's reeling with Daniel Yeaman. You're watching him on screen at the moment. Will he have a lunge down the inside of Yeaman to turn 1? Yes, he will. Here he goes to P5. Senese on a charge. Yeaman slots back at 6 for the moment.
Yeah, there wasn't much that Yeaman could do there. Just had to give him the position. Think about it's a race of attrition. You got to keep it clean. No point battling it at that point. Use Senese to your advantage. Let him get ahead of you. Use the toe. Chase down Loretti and Chapman and Dial and Davison at the front of the field. You do not want to give up time. That's smart driving there from Yeaman, which we know he is, and through a multitude of racing categories that he's driven in, whether it's Porsche Cups, whether it's supercars or anything else. This guy is an incredibly smart operator, and he will work hard to make his way forward. And he'll use the other drivers to his advantage by giving him toes and working with them as well. Dylan DeBono on the bottom screen. He's already back up to P22, gentlemen, and just trying to fight his way back through the field. But it is a Herculean uphill battle for DeBono.
It's going to be a big stretch. It's going to be a big stretch, but luckily for him, there's time on the board. So if he can just lock down, get back into the zone, then hopefully the race will come back to him. And who knows, with the amount of times that we've been seeing people get off track, another safety car might come. And if that happens, then it's all to play for.
Oh, that's exactly right. And pit stops could also become a massive factor. Those who have already pit, if they're starting to make gains on the road, they could also be in an incredible opportunity to make up spots if there is another safety car, especially for those who may not decide to come into pit lane and go for the full-on roulette gamble to try and get their way up the front and get home on a no stop if they possibly could, which I don't think they can. I think they could only ever do a one stop in that scenario. But it's going to be a properly tough task tonight. We've already seen it proven in the first 20 minutes. Multiple cars off. Debris has thrown them in at the absolute deep end of things. And it's almost seeming like when you run on the inside line on a wet track and you catch those beautiful little pieces of rubber marble that's on the road, it just sends you off the circuit. The gravel's doing the exact same thing, but in a dry and arid sort of form.
And you know,
Kenny Davison's just starting to walk away with this, boys, isn't he? Sorry, Daniel, go on.
That's right. Oh, I just wanted to mention another thing too. You got to keep in mind is, who's that coming off the track?
Sinise! He caught that debris. He caught the debris. He only just caught the car.
All right. So I'm going to point this out now, and I'll go back to you, Zach. So you got to keep in mind that with the debris, I know that's going to be the buzzword. Everyone's filling up the bingo cards now. So with the debris on the track, most of the time before, if you went for an inside overtake, the only thing you had to contend with was whether or not you could pull the car up because you were going slightly faster in the draft. Now you've got to keep in mind, am I going to drive my tyres through gravel?
If it was already such a balancing act before, have the scales now been tipped in the favour of the circuit more so than the driver?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And we knew that Mugello was going to be a nice little challenge, but with the patch update coming in the eve of race day, it has thrown a tremendous spanner in the works and thrown even more of a challenge at these guys than what it was already going to be. So it's just added that degree of uncertainty and why they're coming onto the main straight. In fact, actually, we're looking outside the top 20 now. Tyler Sheep, Dylan DeBono on their charge back through. So too Brett Parker. So all these guys have run into trouble early. They're trying to get their way back into the fight. Brett Parker to the outside. DeBono in the middle. Sheep on the inside. DeBono's going to 20th. Yes, and Parker's going around the outside to 21st.
So important point for you here. Sheafy and DeBono, former teammates at Velocity Sim Labs. Sheafy left the team halfway through the year to go to Velocity Racing Team, not related as he runs it wide. And they actually then replaced Sheafy with Keegan Caldwell, who races for the first time in the AWN tonight as a part of Velocity Sim Labs as well.
Uh-oh.
And one thing that I think Sheafy's just gone off the road again.
The old commentator curse.
Well,
just
mind you, he'll use the narrative that he's racing with one hand because he broke his hand last season.
Oh, no.
And no more narrative from Sheafy, please. Like, just no. I mean...
No, he's got to get him.
He has. The debris is really hurting him. No more narrative from Sheafy because he's raced all season with it. It's no longer an excuse. Like, he got in the top 20. Yeah. You know, but at this stage, you know, Sheafy has been trying to get back up to form, back up to almost Pro-Am Championship winning ways. Caldwell finally won an AM Championship last season, but he still struggled with those inconsistencies that he had going for himself last season. He still struggled with minor spins and just avoidable incidents, but he didn't quite do it as badly as what he previously had. So he is on the up for cleaner runnings. But we do have to keep an eye on him for those little half spins or making those little 1% of mistakes because he still gets caught out by them to this day.
Jason Depp to pit lane, and also worth noting, Mitchell Noble, the first and only retirement of the night. So far, we're down to 37 out there on the track at the moment. What I also want to highlight too, gents, is that you look at the totem pole, it says lap 14. We're at 23.5 minutes. We are on the cusp of the first fuel window.
Yeah, first fuel window coming up very, very shortly. We have already had one safety car in this race. If we have another, it will guarantee a one-stop race for us here. But the question is, those who've already taken a pit, have they already committed to a two-stopper, gentlemen? Because how early they've pit in this race, I suppose they would, but they wouldn't have given up too much by pitting in that first safety car, since it was called at the end of lap 1.
Daniel?
Yeah, just having a look here at some of the movements. So, Dane Snadden, Scott Pocock there, 11 positions gained, down in 12 and 13.
Yep.
Darren Fay, 19 positions gained there, 18. Oh, that's
Jeff Adams
King.
again, is it?
No, I think that's Richard King.
Richard King,
going off the track,
yeah.
And, Juliana Sinise, man, 136, one flat. He is absolutely flying.
Yeah, he's
And
he's
now look
another
at
driver.
this.
As they
Look
battle
at this.
through. Oh, my God.
2 by 2 they go on the run to turn 1, and still 2 by 2 through turn 1. Senese, Gowans, Grosh, and Gallo.
Hey,
Grosh and Gallo were probably two fancy contenders coming into tonight. They're not where they'd want to be at the moment, Hamish.
No, they're not. All these guys that were used to battling with each other, of course, you mentioned Grosh races across both series, so does Gowans. Sinise, he had a lot of pace this season. He struggled throughout the season just for some little 1%ers and also just being unlucky from time to time as well. David Gallo, for my money, he was the best SRW driver across all of our leagues that we run for 2024. He won 3 titles to his name. 2 of those were regular season championships. The other one was the F1 Shadow Series, run across the whole year. So for my money, Gallo is probably the best that SRW has to offer across a year, across consistency, across pace. He was the man that got everything done. He was the Mr. Consistent. And only 2 other times he didn't win a championship. One of those went to his teammate Daniel Byrne, which was in season 4, of course. He's back battling with Matty Keane, who was our Pro-Am champion of the season. He now moves up to the pros as well. But Keane's got some pace. He proved last season he had pro pace.
You just caught it on the bottom right-hand side of your screen there, folks. Hit lane for Johnny Davison, and that's a massive shunt. An enormous shunt. Jamie Davis. That car can't be going anywhere except the back of the garage.
Yeah, he got a spin wiggle.
Look at it. Boys. Whooshka. Bang. That will be a safety car without a shadow of a doubt. And now the one-stop strat becomes a real possibility here in the second running of the Australian Open World Nationals on the platforms of the GSRC and SRW. Have a look at this for an impact, and this is in slow-mo, folks. Here comes the safety car. Bang!
That is such a fast incident. And again, a victim of the debris. It is like ice. I fear for that corner because the amount of times I've seen people go, it must be littered now.
Yeah,
right up, boys.
Yeah, it is. DeBono, Brooke, Adams, King, Depp, Rosanita all come through the lane. DeBono has come out P24. There's only a handful of cars ahead of him who've pitted on this lap, including Danny Davidson, the race leader. Schmidtke, Hilly came in on lap 6. Snaden and Keane came in on lap 1. So effectively, DeBono, if he puts his foot down, could find himself back inside the top 10 off this play to come into pit lane.
Has this just completely swung the pendulum? Has this just totally and utterly compromised anybody that didn't hit at the end of lap 15? We're about to find out. Chapman to pit lane. Yeaman, Lorenzi, Giles, and S.A. Grosh, Gowans, they're all in. Gallo, Dixon will follow. Lavis, Pocock, Snadden, Keane. Expect them all in this time by, ladies and gentlemen. Top 12 on the lane. Let's find out exactly what sort of an impact this safety car being called right in the middle of proceedings has on the race. At the moment, no real impact. Matty Keane's gone on for an extra lap. Denny Davison gets out ahead of Sam Chapman, who goes to second. So Chapman a beneficiary by going 1 lap longer. Yeaman comes out ahead of Jackson Dial. So it's going to be Davison, Chapman, Yeaman, Dialson, SA, and Grosh. It's going to be 3 and 3 in, 2 and 4, I should say, in the top 6 with Matt Keane still to cleanse the field. He'll be due on pit lane next time by, I would imagine.
Yeah, we've got an even split inside the top 10 of SRW GSRC. I just want to keep it on to Bono just to see where he comes out in all of this. He's just coming past Darren Fay on pit exit. He's gone all the way up to P16. This is a great position for De Bono to be in after his mistake earlier in the race. Remember, we said it was only lap 3. There was still plenty of time left in the race for him to come back. P16, no matter how you swing it, is a winnable position for De Bono because he'll be tightly contested with the field. He's a very, very fast and smart driver as well. He just has to keep off the debris and keep the car on the road and hope maybe for a little bit of carnage up ahead. But Matt Key not coming into the lane. He pitted on lap 1. I doubt he's going to pit under the safety car. He might be hoping for a third. At least he'll have to be hoping for a third because there's only going to be so much further that he can go on this initial tank of fuel. Even though he did put some fuel in the car on lap 1 and it was at least 4 litres. Since they started with 23, they have a tank capacity of 27.
Daniel Yeaman, Daniel Correa-Sar, I was going to say, Hamish took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to lead you in the direction of pit strategy and pit numbers, but Hamish has already taken care of that for us. But crunching those numbers and noting full well that the safety car is going to go around again, so it's going to be a longer safety car than last time round. Distinct possible chance here that we've seen pit stops completed for the night. We could well be green. It could well just be 2 combined sprint races in 1 clock here on the run to the checkered flag, except for Matt Keane, who we know will be due any moment. Matt Schmidtke stopped on lap 6. He'll be due again soon, I'm sure. You look down the order, Drew Collins last stopped on lap 7, and then you get to our guys that are a lap down. Eduardo Zamora, Richard King, they're coming in now. Keegan Caldwell, he's fine. Jamie Davis joins Mitchell Noble in retirement tonight. 2 retirements thus far, unfortunately, for the SRW boys, both from their side of the ledger. But glass half empty, glass half full. They do have the leaders at the moment. Daniel, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, so as we mentioned before, so just to touch on what Hamish was saying in regards to De Bono, so he's done a really good job there now, up to P16. And now we hear this from time to time in the real world, safety cars breed safety cars. And the problem and the worry that I have, that I genuinely do have, is we know how much the debris has been affecting these drivers during race pace. Now we're under safety car conditions. Their tyres will suffer in terms of temperature. So these guys have to remember they are not going to have the carcass temperature that they want when the safety car restart comes out. They've got to keep in mind the debris. As we see the safety car just letting one of the back markers come through there. And so they have to be on their game because otherwise this is just going to get more and more and more chaotic. Now, for those who are switched on, they're going to profit from all of it. I'm curious to see how much the pit strategy does get affected by these safety cars. If we think it's going to be just the 1 stop, then yeah, we'll have an absolute blast to the finish, but time will tell.
Hang on. A bit of news that we need to follow up on. Sam Katakazinas has just ended up on pit road. Now, is that routine, or has he ended up there, it means that we're not sure yet why. Because it looked as though he just pole vaulted down my totem pole from about wherever it was on the racetrack.
He's jumped.
Is he done?
He's jumped to pit, so I have a feeling he's either disconnected and then he's back, or I'm not sure because it looks like he has actually towed, but I'm not sure why he's towed because I haven't seen him pull up on the road just yet.
And if he has, will race control frown upon that? Now, the other thing you're noticing there too, folks, is that the likes of Richard King, Eduardo Zamora, Sean Benici, John Baldwin, and Keegan Caldwell have all been waved by. So they're going to get back onto the lead lap, meaning all 36 drivers will be back on the lead lap, technically speaking, hypothetically, let's be perfectly honest, unless something monumental goes down here. Technically speaking, all 36 cars are back in contention, but what on earth has happened to Sam Katakazinas? That is worth following up on.
He parked it in the lane and then towed in his pit box and then joined straight back. So he drove the car back to pit lane, and then he actually towed within the pits and then came back. It's one of the oddest things I've ever seen.
That is bizarre. That is bizarre.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I'll just allude to, because Matt Dench is watching. Those of GSRC fame, the Dench Marcus we call him. That's it. Now, he mentioned that that Dial had a moment, and that is true because we were seeing Jackson Dial up there in P2, and he's now dropped back to P5, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But yes, he is running further back, 2 positions lost from the start of the race.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Follow that up in just a moment because the safety car, it would appear, has peeled off the pit lane, which means...
Here we go.
Lights out, and away we go. Green flag flies once more in Italy, ladies and gentlemen. King pulls off immediately. He stops. So therefore, the field is now cleansed.
Right.
Johnny Davison will lead the field to green. Chapman, Yeoman, Dalton, as they Grosh, Gowans, Dixon, Lavis and Schmidtke. It's 6 and 4 at the moment, but SRW lead the way as they seek redemption for September's victory to Sam Chapman at the Silverstone Circuit in England. And already Sam Chapman tried to fire a shot there on Davison, but this totally ruins his plans to do any sort of fuel saving because everybody's on the same strategy, Daniel Carrier, so you're going to have to win this one on merit, on pace.
Yeah, fuel numbers are going to be absolutely critical now. Absolutely critical. You're not going to be able to fuel save as much as you want because otherwise everyone's just going to absolutely overtake you and you're going to be left way behind. So, yeah, everyone's going to be put to the floor for the first couple of laps here while everyone gets settled in. You can see Jackson Dial there at the bottom. On board with him, P4 at the moment. To Bono on the other main live view there in P15. So he's gained another one there on Brett Barker. Well done to him. And you just know, visor down, red mist, and he'll be pushing as hard as possible.
I've just noticed on that corner, gentlemen. Oh my God, the defending champion! The defending champion's
out of it!
I was about to say, I just noticed on the entry to that corner, gentlemen, right on the racing line, there is debris leading into that chicane. So I have to wonder, as we get our little, I'm trying to think what the word is for those types of words, but as we get debris out once again, also out and to the back of the field, the defending champion Sam Chapman, who wanted to go back to back on the AWN, is now all the way back in P30 on the road as Maverick, Snaden and Schmidtke battle up towards turn 1. Senize's up there with Dial as well. Battle is on inside the top 10. We know De Bono's hungry to gain position as well. He's just off the back of this. He's up to P13 on the back of his Season 4 rival, Daniel Byrne, who clinched the title out of his hands as they all try and find their way through the traffic and try and find themselves some clear track ahead as more and more head off the field. I think it's Greg Heaney.
It is, and poor old Adam Lavis just got gobbled up there and swallowed. He got swamped from left and right and centre, and he had to find his way back into 12th place. Behind Byrne, ahead of De Bono, Barker, Merritt, and Fayed. A logjam out there.
Someone's out with Snaden.
And Dane Snaden now out of business as well. Can you believe that? So, the debris, there it is. There's your bingo card's filling up tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about that. We play bingo on the GSRC platforms all the time, as you boys know. And there, unfortunately, is another one biting the dust. Daniel Yeaman is 2.43 behind Davison, but before Chapman even bit the dust, Hamish, you couldn't have asked for a better restart than what Danny Davison just pulled off there.
It was absolutely clinical from Davison. He's done it so many times before. Pulls away from the field, had a little bit of tow from Matty Keane, so he might be getting a Christmas card in his mail from Davison for giving him that one. What I was going to mention, though, is do we think Keane's winning a Nobel Prize for that sort of strategy play? Because he's just put himself all the way back in P32, but maybe he's thinking of the cause. Maybe he's thinking, I'm going to help SRW get a run off the line and let Davison know when I'm going, give him the tow and try and break it up in front of these GSRC boys. As Senize battles with Dial through 1. Yeaman's got the best seat in the house. He's just ahead of it. If those guys come together, he'll be absolutely laughing as they rocket through 2 and 3. And Dial, Senize got it. He's on an absolute rocket ship tonight, is Giuliano.
He's so fast.
And look who's 5th now on the charge. Brendan Grosh up to 5th. The Season 4 champion on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Finally, after a horror run in qualifying, he's up 13 spots. He finds his way into the top 5. He's a real chance of a podium here. But if you're not first, you're last. It's a Talladega night sort of mentality here. And Danny Davison has one hand on the title already. 2.78 clear. 21 and a half minutes on the clock, and he is laughing.
I swear, if the GSRC win this race, with a driver who raced last season in SRW again.
Yes.
We're going to have a look at some restructuring of who's allowed to race in which race.
Some eligibility changes, yes. Absolutely. Anything to try and square the ledger, huh?
That's exactly right.
Davison, Yeaman, Senese, Dahl, Grosh. If you can't beat them, join them. That's what I say. Senese, the fastest up the race, 1:36.1. Yeaman has Chapo, Daniel Carrier mentioned earlier, Chapo's ability to fuel save, and it's across the board. It's tin tops, it's open wheelers. We've seen him do it in GT4, we've seen him do it in Porsches, GT3, etc. He's very versatile. So too, for the matter, is Daniel Yeaman. Senese and Yeaman arguing over the same piece of real estate. Yeaman barely holding on. De Bono's got his way back into the top 10, bottom right of screen as well. It is all happening in Italy at the moment. Scott Pocock outside the top 10 now, trying to fight his way back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th place 4 as far as GSRC and SRW members are in the top 10 are concerned. Now, that's in favour of SRW. They've got the upper hand on the ledger at the moment on the scoreboard, but there's still a long way to go. Jack O'Donnell, you can see the debris evident on the racetrack now as you ride on board with Jacko up to the top of the hill. And at the top of the hill, you can see the battle just ahead of them, of course. Senese all over the back of Yeaman like a cheap suit.
I have to wonder if there's a correlation between Italian circuit and Italian name, and that's why Senese's got pace tonight.
Yep.
He's feeling the enriched wineries of Tuscany flowing through his veins right now, and it's powering him on to P3 on the road and powering him on to the back of Daniel Yeaman's car. And there's only so much that the Drop Bear Motorsports driver can do with Senese in behind him. I mean, he's got Dial and Groch there playing backup. But are they in it for themselves, or are they in it for the GSRC? I feel like at the front of the field, it's all guts, no glory, and it's all for personal pride as they race towards the line. Lap 23 coming your way, 40 minutes, 40 seconds into this race, so just under 20 minutes to go. There's still time for another safety car. Senese sends it up on the outside of Yeaman again towards turn 1. Senese gets the job done in the braking zone, but Yeaman coming back at him down the inside at 1. If these two tangle, Dial and Groch there to pick up the crumbs, they somehow get through cleanly, and they come back through 2 and 3 with Yeaman ahead.
And Dial gets by Groch as well. 3 on 1 at the moment, Daniel. But I'll tell you what, Senese holding his own there for SRW in 3rd place. And all the meanwhile, unfortunately for us, Daniel Carrier, this is just buying Denny Davison free time at the front of the field. He is just taking off into the sunset.
Oh, he's in his own race. He's in his own race. Look at him.
He's in his own postcode.
It's pretty much 3.5 seconds down the road. So all he's got to do is just keep it on the black stuff, and he has got this in the bag. But going back to Daniel Yeaman, that was a really, really interesting line going into that first turn. He kept it nice and tight, but still had the speed to come out in front of Senese. So props to you, sir. And then Jackson Dial and Grosh also fighting at the back. And have a look, they're starting to bunch up a little bit. Yeah. We've got a lot of battles happening.
Just trying to do the mathematics manually on the fly here, folks, based on the fact that we're in 1:36 at the moment. So it's going to buy 5 laps in 8 minutes. We're getting back to the line. We've got 18 on the clock at the moment. Up onto the main straight, Denny Davison. He's going to come back across the start-finish line at about the 42.25 minute mark. There it is, bang on the dot. Perfect. So that'll get us to about 9 minutes and 45 to go. I reckon we're just having a look at the numbers here. 8 minutes is going to get us up to 50 and 15 seconds. Another 8, so that's 10. It's going to give us a minute 45 on the clock. I reckon they get back to the line just in the nick of time. Oh, geez, have a look at that. 3 wide into 1. That barely worked. John Merritt in the thick of the action there. So too Scott Pocock and Brett Parker as well. They're arguing over 11th on the racetrack at the moment. I reckon we just squeezed one more in the nick of regulation, boys. So for mine, it's 11 laps from here. Therefore, it's a 34-lap race, but don't quote me on it. Maths was never my strong point.
No, just quoting when the correct time zones are. Isn't that right, Zach?
Correct.
Yeah.
10 points.
I love the fact as well, you mentioned Sean Benici earlier. Conversation between you and him when he was in chat one day of GSRC. That was how I found out your gripe with daylight savings. So I'm glad you mentioned him in the field. Yep. It's all come
There's
full
always
circle.
A connection. There's always a correlation.
It's all come full circle now.
And on that note, a very good afternoon to our friends in Western Australia who are just knocking off work as this race gets underway, by the way.
Well, underway. We're nearly at the crescendo at this point. We're nearly at the final act of this race. Just under, or just over 15 minutes left to run. Can Dylan De Bono catch that battle inside the top 10? He's back up to P9 after going off on lap 3, dropping to the back of the order. He's got 16 minutes to try and get up towards the likes of Sinise and Yeaman who go 1v1 into turn number 1. Dylan watching behind as well. Sinise gets the job done up the inside, got the switch back. What a move from Sinise. Yeaman has to give in and hopes for an opportunity to get it back past him later in the piece.
Davison's not being caught at this point, gentlemen, unless we get a late safety car. And if we do, based on what we're seeing at the moment, Sinise is going to be the one to beat. Off goes Darren Fay in the background as well. If Darren can't get back onto the racetrack, there is your safety car. He looks okay. He looks like he'll be able to rejoin. It'll be right at the bottom of the order. Yeaman's off the road. Daniel Yeaman's off the road. Can you believe that? Can you believe Daniel Yeaman's chances have just gone up in smoke, and probably so too of the GSRCs.
Just like a drop bear falling out of a tree, he's dropped all the way down to P17 on the road for Daniel Yeaman. This is what happened up at the top of the hill before the roller coaster ride down the hill. He was in behind Sinise, so it doesn't look like any foul play. He just lost the rear, and I have to wonder if there's some debris there on the inside of the corner. Another little buzzword for you.
We're up to about 100 on that one tonight.
We're selling this debris thing really, really well, I think. We're not making it obvious at all. There's no debris. He's just lost it on entry. Bit too much speed.
Yep. Bit too much curb, I reckon, too. Can you believe that? Daniel Yeaman's night done. He'll try and salvage something from here. Matt Schmidtke back to pit lane. That's not a surprise. Schmidtke was due. I mentioned that during the safety car period. So all of a sudden, there are just 4 GSRC contenders in the top 10. They are 3, 4, 9, and 10. Jack O'Dyle holding on off Brendan Grosh at the moment. And John Merritt in a scrap with Brett Barker. Everyone else fighting amongst themselves. Daniel Byrne, Dylan De Bono, we'll pick them up in a moment. They're all over the back of Doug Gowans like a cheap suit. They're fighting for 6. And Jay Dixon is trying to join the GSRC battle between Grosh and Dole and shake things up there.
What De Bono doesn't want, though, you mentioned the cheap suit. He doesn't want to feel as stretched out as that cheap suit there, Zach. No. He wants to keep it nice, tight, and as fully fitted as possible as he tries to chase down Byrne. He's been on the back of him for at least the last 15 minutes of this race. He does not want to give anything up to Daniel Byrne. Realistically, at this point, he just wants to beat Byrne to prove that, hey, I could have beaten you in the championship last season. I won the last race. If it wasn't for the 2 races that I was taken out to no fault of my own, I would be the champion right now and not you. And that is the sort of mentality that De Bono has to have. He came into last season with an incredible change in his mental approach to the season. He completely shifted the way that he approached the championship. And what happened? Well, he won a race in every single round up until round 7 of the championship.
Yep. It's always interesting to see whether a restart, a rejig, a reset pays dividends. In this case, you would argue for Dylan De Bono that it certainly did. It doesn't fix the championship, as you say, but it certainly squares the ledger as far as he's concerned if he can get bragging rights in this one-off Australian Open World Nationals. There's the move down the outside. De Bono on Byrne now for 7th. Byrne will force the issue on the inside of the exit of turn 1, and De Bono will have the inside running for turn 2. And there was a different shoulder there too.
Textbook move there by De Bono, mate. Surely driver of the day. Or at least one of the contenders. Oh, wait!
Sinise! And it can happen to anyone. If it happens to me, it can happen to you. It happened to Chapman earlier, and now it's happened to Sinise. Yeaman as well. It doesn't matter who you are. It could happen to Davison. Not to put the moz on him, touch wood.
Oh, why would you say that?
Well,
no,
you know,
that's exactly right. I agree with Daniel in this instance.
We spoke about wrestling earlier, Daniel. I love to live dangerously, let's say.
That's it. There you go.
Sinise drops down to 17th in all that, boys. Yeaman down to 14th. Gilly's just gone down to 13th as well. There is the moment. Did well not to be collected on the follow through. Davison's lead now balloons out to 4.7 seconds. Dale Grosh 2 and 3 for the GSRC. And look at Davison, half the main straight ahead of him and half the main straight behind him as his advantage at the moment. Dixon, Gowans, DeBono, Byrne, Merritt, Parker and Pocock now make up the top 10. Oh boy, another stunner in the works. 3 genuine contenders wiped out since restart number 2 in terms of their outright chances. But that's motor racing for you when it hinges all on one night and it goes up in smoke. Sinise, with the fastest lap of the race, finds his way down to 17th position. Can you believe?
Oh,
no,
Gowans! Gowans is gone at turn 3.
Wowee.
So they're dropping like flies here. I have to wonder if the tyres are just starting to break away from them.
It's got to be.
On the mouth.
It's got to be.
And comes out of pit lane. Oh no, Loretti has also been caught out. Oh my God, that's got to be a safety car. That has got to be a safety car.
Oh,
you have
that
to
is
argue.
not.
Wowee. So on the rejoin from Gowans, I'll suspect that he's been collected on the follow through. And can you believe that? 2 SRW contenders bring out safety car number 3, Loretti on his lid. Gowans rejoining in 27th position now. And Sinise's off the road again as well, boys. Whilst we're watching this replay. Oh, dear.
So
he spins.
Yeah, he spun. He's coming back. Oh, no, there's Loretti. Oh my God, he had nowhere to go.
Oh no!
That wasn't even. I don't even know if that's the fault of Gowans. The rear just went.
No, Sinise off the road. Gowans still off the road. Now, what's going on with Sinise whilst we're watching on the replay here? Because he's still showing off the road and going nowhere. Sinise's day is done as well.
I feel like this might be another safety car, gentlemen.
This will be number 3.
And I was going to say before, if we get another one, you mentioned it was going to be Sinise's. Keep an eye on Dylan DeBono and Daniel Byrne.
Oh, for sure.
Because
for sure.
They are on the charge.
But I must say, if you're Danny Davidson, you are probably silently fuming. Or maybe not even silently. 4.7 seconds he had a gap at the front there. And now that will all come down. The question's going to be what the fuel level's like for these guys. I'd imagine they're going to be okay for 10 minutes. I think. I don't know. I haven't done the math. But if you're Jackson Dial, and I know here's how I know, you guys better strap in. Because this last 10 minutes is going to be some of the most epic racing, I reckon.
John Baldwin also on pit road too, boys. Sinise, Loretti out of business. Caldwell's been parked up for a little while now as well. We missed that. Davis, of course, triggered the second safety car. Noble out early on lap 9. That now makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and probably 6 as well. Retirements from this motor race. And as far as the top 10 are concerned, it's 6 and 4, 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 for the SRW squad, 2, 3, 7, and 8 for the GSRC. But I'll raise what Daniel Correa-Sarr said, Hamish, about the fuel issue. I'm also now, we were just mentioning it before the safety car was deployed, I'm also now thinking tyre wear. These things would be screaming. They'll get a little bit of a reprieve here, but then we're going to restart and they're going to be expected to perform at optimum again. Is that going to be a late defining factor as well? Tyre wear, is it going to start to bite the bullet here?
Yeah, it definitely could. One thing also think about, Phil Vella's pointed out in the chat, Danny Davidson, Dylan DeBono pitted a lap before the rest of the top 6. Daniel Byrne, Jay Dixon, Grotch, and Dial all came in on lap 16.
But
John Merritt came in on lap 14.
Yep.
But I think, I could be wrong. Math was never my strong suit. But considering the safety car periods we've had, maybe that's brought that number back to those 2.
I think.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, rip up your bingo card because we're not getting to 34 anymore. The safety car's kind of ruined that one. So we'll recalculate.
We're definitely getting to 30, I'll tell you that.
Yes, yep. This is the end of lap 29 coming up now. Now, is the safety car going around one more time, or are we trying to get this show back on the road ASAP? Because if we're trying to get it back on the road ASAP, it's 7 minutes on the clock. It'll be 5 laps here. Yes, safety car coming back to pit lane. It'll be 5 laps, folks. Oh, hang on.
Strap in.
Maybe, just maybe. Let's recalibrate and let's have a look at where they are when they cross the line here, because it could well just be 4 laps to go. Depends on when Davison pulls the trigger. 3,
He'll wait.
2, 1. Yeah, it's 4 laps from here, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be 6.5 minutes from now. And here goes Davison, and Dial went with him.
Yeah, that was probably his worst restart of the whole race, gentlemen. Probably should have gone right on apex the last corner because Dial caught that. He caught that incredibly well. Outside run into turn 1 for Jackson Dial. Danny Davidson inside line. He'll try and hold him off as best he can as they run up to hill through towards turn 2 and 3. Side by side, Dial takes the lead.
Whiskey is just racing on top of the Australian Open World Nationals momentarily. Shots fired off the restart from Jackson Dial. What a corker it was. Davidson's restart last time round, perfect. This time round, a little bit left to be desired. And the man that has led for much of the night is on the back foot with 5.5 minutes on the clock. Rosh is third. DeBono, we're riding on board with him. Byrne, Merritt, Dixon, Parker, Donahue, and also Pocock making up the top 10. And Jackson Dial, when it matters most, has found his way to the front. 3 laps to go at the line.
Oh, Davison's run it wide.
Go Davison. He found the lead, boys, and that is just opening up beautifully. That's opening up beautifully for both Dial and Grosh, and Grosh has gone to second. Davidson back to third.
There's a heap of carnage up at that chicane, gentlemen. I think the debris is starting to catch drivers out right on that racing line.
David Gallo.
Yep, Gallo, and I believe one of the other GSRC boys as well. Yep. So a couple of boys have been caught out.
I have to mention it's really unfortunate there for Danny because the problem with Mugello is it's got such a long straight and the start-finish line is further up from the pit lane. So you're not allowed to overtake until you cross that line, but unfortunately Jackson was just much better on that restart and Danny tried to hold the inside line, but he sacrifices the inside line into turn 2 and he's gone through. And now Grosh has also, because Danny hit that debris and slid back, watch DeBono now. I reckon he's going to kick it up a gear. And he's most likely going to do some pretty hectic moves here. Burns right there with him. So this is all still line.
I cannot believe what we're seeing here, Daniel Career Star. Jackson Dial and Brendan Grosh. 2 laps to go at the line. They lead the Australian Open World Nationals. And GSRC, the seas have parted yet again. They're stringing the tail late in the piece. The GSRC boys are sitting right where they want to be. Davison on the back foot has a lot of ground to recover if he's going to get back to where he was a lap ago. DeBono 4th, Byrne and Dixon 5th and 6th.
Watch out for moments of this corner as well, gentlemen. We need to keep an eye on these front runners, make sure they keep it clean because it's now main event pressure levels in this race. DeBono is hot on the heels of Davison. Grosh just want to try and hold them back as best he can. Dial leads the way. He's going to have 2 laps left to run to the checkered flag. He just has to survive 2 more runs around this circuit.
Callum Roseneder off the road at the moment, boys. David Gallo has jumped on the tow rope, and I'm not sure the legalities of that one. And Tyler Sheep is also back on pit lane as well. So a fair bit unfolding here in the closing stages, but we do now need to keep our eyes on the leaders. Across the line we go. Jackson Dial to the first corner, leads Brendan Grosh. Danny Davison, Dylan DeBono, 3 and 4. Burnham Merritt, 5 and 6. In fact, forget about Merritt because he's too far back, 2.6 seconds. In fact, he's lost out completely to that top 5 as Grosh is pounded by Davison, DeBono and Byrne. But Grosh is on the cusp of having enough of a buffer here that it won't matter that he's got 3 SRW boys trying to reel him in because he'll be out of that all-important tow, Daniel Career Star. So this is opening up beautifully for the GSRC boys. They could go 1-2.
Yeah. Now, I don't know who it was that was in the backpack towards like 6 to... from P6 to P9, but someone went sideways and managed to catch it. That's why I blurted out earlier. And it looks like Adam Levis and Mark Healy have had something happen as well.
Oh, jeez. What did we say before the broadcast about club members taking club members out?
Yeah.
It's happened a couple of times tonight.
It's unfortunate. It's part of racing sometimes. So, yeah, those two have suffered. They've dropped back. And just having a look. So, and I have to admit, Danny Davidson's doing a fantastic job defending from DeBono here. He's put himself in exactly where the car needs to be. Daniel Burns managed to keep that gap closed as well. They've managed to drop Merritt. Merritt was closer, but now he's 2 seconds back. So yeah, that fight there is alive for P2 as it seems. 4 cars in that fight. I wonder, I don't think so, I wouldn't imagine so, but maybe, Grosh is doing a little bit of league friendship here and trying to hold these guys back, and there's the white flag!
Yeah, we're one lap from home, boys. What? The big send! On the inside of Bono Davison to 1! The Bono to 3rd!
Wow.
Davison trying to get back on the inside, won't be able to do it! It's still going to lose now on the run for it to Daniel Byrne! Now he forced that one a little bit more harder than usual, and he was able to keep Daniel Byrne at bay. De Bono to 3rd. Redemption for what happened in September. Albeit he would have loved the win tonight, but he'll still take being the best placed SRW driver across the line, I'm sure. What about this guy, though? Fast all night, started 3rd on the grid. He's half a lap from home. Brendan Grosh won the SFL series on the platform for the Gentleman Sim Racing Club last week in a nail-biter at the Nürburgring. Held off Brett Barker, who's another one that fell foul of incidents tonight as well. Jack O'Donnell, everything's coming up trumps for him at the moment. He said that he would love nothing more than to put a full season together when we spoke to him last week after the Radicals. This is his crowning moment as far as his involvement with Whiskey Business Racing is concerned. Last turn, checkered flag, recently engaged, recently purchased his first home, now takes the GSRC to 2-0 and wins the second running of the Australian Open World Nationals. How about that? Jack O'Donnell victorious at Mugello in Italy and does it in style. 1.23 the winning margin. Dylan De Bono 3rd, Brendan Grosh home for 2nd. Jack O'Donnell, how about that? Extraordinary scenes here at the Mugello circuit. He didn't lead until the final 5 minutes, a bit reminiscent, a bit deja vu to what we saw with Chapo at Silverstone, boys. But Jack O'Donnell has done it, and that will be, I'm sure, based on what we see when Aidan Luthwaite brings championship success to the Whiskey Business Racing stable, Daniel Correa, that will be a bottle of whiskey for Christmas for Jack O'Donnell, and rightly so, and richly deserved.
100%. It was a fantastic drive, and not to take away any light from that, but can we please give a round of applause and acknowledgement. Dylan De Bono.
Yeah.
Spun early on in the race. I can't remember what position he ended up in, but he had lost something like 29 positions, if I'm not mistaken, and he has, through perseverance and sheer commitment and will, made it to the bottom step of the podium.
Extraordinary stuff. The tail dangling between the legs of our SRW colleagues at the moment, unfortunately, because somehow the GSRC have stolen victory from out of the clouds here at the death. Davison, a poor restart, and then ended up falling back into 4th place. Threw it off the road to lose 2nd and 3rd in the process. That was a brilliant manoeuvre from Dylan De Bono to go 3rd. Daniel Byrne got home for 5th. John Merritt finished with the fastest lap of the race. Can we just acknowledge that as well? 1:36.057. Good on your hot lap. He's hot lap for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Dixon, Brett Barker, Tom Donoghue, and Sam Chapman, who also bowled a wide early on, got back to 10th. The defending champion will pass the baton over to his mate Jack O'Donnell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5 in the top 10. The form guide was even running into the night, boys. They had the spanner in the works thrown at them with the new debris model and all the patch updates overnight. But the GSRC find a way to the top step of the podium once more. Can you bloody well believe that?
Can we just please acknowledge the fact that an admin of the SRW side, who also races in GSRC, caused the last safety car and arguably cost SRW the win?
What was that you were saying before about Moz?
I didn't put the Moz on Gowans, but you know,
No.
I think there might need to be some investigations into our admin for
yes.
wrong,
Have a look at
wrong
this too, by the way, boys.
transgressions.
This is a wonderful photo opportunity moment for Whiskey Business Racing. Yeah, sure, Greg Heaney had an issue throughout the course of the night, but he'll be right there as a proud team owner. Sean Benici out on the racetrack as part of this team as well, having recently joined the WBR stable. It's important to note. What a moment for these guys to celebrate and lap up another crowning moment for them. As we said, there's the four of them on the racetrack celebrating in style. Two championships on Friday Night Motorsport for Aidan Luthwaite throughout the course of the season. But this one will mean oh so much because it's a team within a team. So it's the WBR stable for the GSRC getting the job done. Magnificent stuff. Some other acknowledgements here. Plus 16 for Brendan Grosh, plus 12 for Jay Dixon, 13 for Dane Snadden. Remember, he's out there as well for the Whiskey Business Stable. 11 for Scotty Pocock, 12 for Sam Katakazinas. Darren Fay up 20 spots. I think the biggest mover of the night. Nathan Verney finished up 14. Greg Heaney up plus 10. We take a look at the results there for you. Doyle by 1.23 to Grosh and Dylan DeBono. A marvellous fight back, as Daniel Correa-Sar alluded to get third. Danny Davison in for fourth. Daniel Byrne, John Merritt, Jay Dixon, Brett Barker, Tom Donahue and Sam Chapman outside. Dane Snadden, Scott Pocock, Benjamin Brook. Daniel Yeaman got back to 14th. Again, another contender biting the dust late in the piece. Matt Keane, Sam Katagazinas, Darren Fay, Jason Depp, Eduardo Zamora, and Nathan Verney made up the top 20. Richard King was 21st. I'm not sure if he's actually come home there in the end, Richard King, but it says he's plus 5, but he's reading half a lap down on everybody else. Maybe he's jumped to pit lane halfway through the slowdown lap. Maybe he's run out of fuel. So some of these guys would have been running it tight. Rosanetta, Heaney, Hilly, another one of the Whiskey Business recruits of late. Adam Lavis, Sean Benici, Matt Schmidtke, Drew Collins, Doug Gowans. And again, that was one of the defining moments of the night. Jeff Adams in for 30th, Adrian Loretti, Giuliano Senesi, another contender that dropped out short of the line. David Gallo was 33rd, Tyler Sheaf, a retirement late in the piece. So too John Baldwin, so too Keegan Caldwell, Jamie Davis, and Mitchell Noble, 38 starters. And what do we have? Somewhere in the vicinity of 32 finishes. However, on 75%, I reckon 25 will get you home. I'll just do those mathematical calculations now for you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have our drivers in here for post-race chat in just a moment. So we got to, Jacko got us to 33 in the end. So my apologies, 33. 34 would have been right had it not been for that light race safety car, minus 25% off that. You had to get to 25 to get classified there in the end. So David Gallo, Tyler Sheaf, they'll be fine. John Baldwin as well, provided that they're all in the service still at the end of proceedings. Top 35, therefore, classified, but 30, what did we say, 32, seeing the checkered flag. Pick it apart for me, Hamish. Your thoughts on all of that? I mean, despair for Denny Davison, the front-running contender, the pace setter, all night long, until Jack O'Donnell just one-upped him on the restart there, and that was a phenomenal restart from Dole.
Yeah, I think, safety car probably came at the wrong time for Davison. He's probably trying to save a little bit of fuel, save those tyres as well, and it just didn't go his way tonight. Maybe 2025 will be the year of SRW. Maybe 2024 is just owned by the GSRC, it seems, but I mean, DeBono had an incredible run back, obviously, to the podium. Grotch did well as well. I'm going to call that podium a 1.5 for both of us because Grotch races in both series. I think that's fair enough. Grotch races in the pro class. He raced all season, so it's a 1.5. I mean, Dial did win, obviously, but I do also want to point out the fact it was an even split inside the top 10. It was 5 and 5 inside the top 10. Unfortunately, we've lost the curse that the most drivers inside the top 10 means the other side wins because that's just been ruined by Jackson Dial. But in saying that, it was a great race nonetheless. Mugello absolutely turned it on. I got everything that I expected and more thanks to the magic buzzword of debris. But I think we're going to be on for a mega event next time out. I'm hopeful next time out for Phillip Island because there's a lot of sand traps at Phillip Island. It means a lot of debris can go on the road.
Shall we invite our top three in? And I noticed that the team owner for Whiskey Business Racing, Greg Heaney's in the house as well, so we should probably invite him in as well. Hey, we should have a chat.
We'll drag him one at a time. We'll start with our P3 and Dylan DeBono. Have a quick chat to him. Mr. DeBono, you ended the season with a win at Daytona last week. This week, you make up for last season by getting yourself onto the podium after an unfortunate moment early in the race. Lap 3, you went off the road. A great comeback from you to get back up onto the podium. Does it feel like you've you've solidified yourself now? Do you feel like you've made up for last year, or do you think, next time out you've got to get the win to really feel like you've regained your honour, I guess we could say, against this field?
Yeah, I mean, that spin on the third lap definitely didn't help. Didn't help the cause for feeling better. I just hadn't run enough laps with the new track model and that sort of stuff with the gravel and all those new things. But to come back from, I think it was 33rd to third, yeah, I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, mate, if we obviously had a driver of the day award, I think we'd have to almost give it to you from that absolute resurgence to go to the back of the field. It proved that you still got pace even after the heartbreak of last season. Does this help now give you some more confidence leading into next season and possibly making you a much more dangerous Dylan DeBono than what we actually saw in season 4?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at season 4, there was probably 2 races there that ruined the championship, and I probably would have, if those 2 races weren't there, probably would have won it by a round or something. But I'll, in the off season, I'll do some more laps with this new gravel, and just try and stay on track. You look at tonight, and if you just stayed on the track, you were almost guaranteed a good result. Dougie was unlucky there in those dying stages. Just got on the gravel as well, and I think it's the same story for a lot of people. We were only given this model, today, and pretty hard to overcome such a big change in such a short period of time. But yeah, pretty happy with how tonight went, and hopefully it carries on to the next season.
Well, mate, you've had an exceptional run. You proved why you were arguably the best driver in the field last season for SRW. Probably, arguably, should have won the championship. Daniel Byrne was right there with you, though, to the very end. I think you're going to be a challenger once again next season, of course. And I think you will hopefully come home with the chocolates next time out on track. But, mate, let us know how helps get you and Velocity Sim Labs out on circuit. Congratulations on not only making the checkered flag tonight, but also making your way back up to the podium after an early spin. It's great to see you back up there once again, and hopefully you can continue to rise up the rankings. Maybe next time we'll knock off these GSRC blokes.
Yeah, hopefully. Big thanks to Velocity Sim Labs, all the help they did during the season and then leading into this event. SRW and GSR for organising the event. You guys for streaming it. I know a lot of people were watching it. And yeah, hopefully next year will be even better.
Well, mate, thank you so much for competing once again. We look forward to seeing how you go in SRW next season. Hopefully you can finally get that championship next to your name. Enjoy the break, though, across December. Have a wonderful Christmas and holiday period and a happy new year. And we'll see you return to track on the 29th of January for round 1.
No worries. Thanks, guys. You too.
Thanks, mate.
Now, very well done, Dylan DeBono.
Just before we bring in Mr. Grotch and
Yes,
then
mate.
Mr. Dial, Josh mentioned to me earlier that the GSRC are giving up 2 free season tickets next season, one of which is going to Jackson Dial for winning the race. The other goes to someone of your choosing, Zach. Now, have you determined who you've decided to give that to?
Well, actually, I was hoping that Mr. Korea-san might have a little bit of a say on this one way or the other, because we were trying to work out whether it was going to be a hard charger or whether it was going to be... I mean, and if you look at hard chargers from the GSRC standpoint, hard to go past the bloke that's just about to join us in the booth in Brendan Grosh, of course. I mean... Daniel, I'm happy to take your judgment on that one, because there are an enormous amount of contenders here that we could throw this at. I mean, Dane Snudden's another one, up 13 spots too. So I'm happy to seek some correspondence from you on that and come back with an answer before too long. And we can even look beyond the top 20 as well. Probably need to even maybe look at some of our hard luck runners, some of the guys that struck some trouble that would normally be at the pointy end of proceedings. So that might even take a Daniel Yeaman into consideration as well. So what are your thoughts, Daniel?
Well, yeah, it depends on how you want to judge it. So if we're going to go, let's say, like a hard charger award, then you'd have what do we had? Grosh was up 16, Dane Snadden 13. And we had Jay Dixon there with 12. Nathan Verney was down there with 14 as well. Darren Fay was 20, but he didn't set a time. Is that right?
Can we
if I remember
mulligan?
correctly?
Can we mulligan SRW drivers?
Well, actually, no. Can I also elaborate? Can I also say, right, that yes, Josh has pointed out that it can be a GSRC or an SRW member, not going on a recruitment drive or anything, Hamish. But the membership would be an extension to a GSRC member if we decide to go with one of those guys, or an SRW. It would be a free membership for one of those guys. So let's talk to our top two. Daniel Carriasar and I can mull over that one. Feel free to slide me some nominations into a message, mate, and we will go from there. But yeah, I've certainly got a couple of guys in mind. I mean, the guy that finished second, Brendan Grosh, contender number one, up 16 spots. We're going to hear from him in just a moment. Tim Watson's just slid into the booth as well. Brendan Grosh joins us now from the GSRC side of the ledger, mate. Good evening to you. Firstly, well done on the SRW, on the SFL Championship on the platforms of the GSRC last week. I knew I was going to get my acronyms mucked up at one point or another night. Trusted to be in the post-race show when it matters. But secondly, can we start with your night with regards to qualifying, mate? What on earth happened there? Because it's very unlike you, a pace setter, a championship winner, a front runner, to be that far down the pack in qual.
Well, it was actually a lack of practice, to be honest. I was planning to do all my practice in the 2-hour session we had, but then plan change it at home. I had to cook dinner, so during the day I ended up getting like 15 laps in or something like that, and I just had to sort of learn on the fly in quali. So that's what happened to that.
And secondly, of course, not being able to practice is one thing at the best of times. Normally, 9 times out of 10, it's not too much to get your head around. It's the same car week in, week out. Tonight, a little bit different, though, because of the patch update overnight and the new debris model, etc. and so forth, yeah?
I think that might have even helped me a little bit because I didn't do any practice pre-update. I didn't have any sort of knowledge, or not a lot of knowledge on the combo. So therefore, I didn't really have to relearn anything. I just learned the track as normal.
Mate, I'm going to give you a little bit of late breaking news here, and it comes courtesy of Daniel Carriasar and I. We were talking about nominations for who would be our second recipient of a free membership for the platforms of the GSRC, and I'm happy to go with you because we were arguing whether we keep it in-house or extend it along the SRW boys, but we cannot deny the fact that up 16 in the race for the circumstances you just mentioned is too bloody good to ignore. So well done. Josh Zuno will be in contact about what that means going forward. A free membership for you and Jacko, of course, for the next 12 months. And considering that you've probably already recently renewed subscriptions, it'll just extend things on for another 12 months. So we're going to keep you in the house for a little bit longer, I hope. Well done on the race, mates. Talk me through it, because to get up into the top 10 was the first task, but then obviously safety cars breed safety cars. You get 3 of those throughout the course of the evening. Strategy worked in your favour, and you had to be there when it mattered. A little bit of a late moment for Danny Davison after being blindsided probably by Jacko's restart, paved the way for you to go through to second. Did you have any hope of trying to reel Jacko in, though?
Firstly, absolutely lovely giving me the membership to GSRC. I will most certainly be using it for as long as I can. I plan to do a lot more series than just what I've been doing, so thank you. And with my race, all I tried to do the entire race was just keep it on the track. Because of the limited amount of time of practice, pushing wasn't going to help me. If anything, it'd just make me worse and run wide and whatnot. And with this gravel how it is, I've seen a lot of people spinning from just a little bit of gravel contact. So I got quite fortunate with a few people in front of me spinning. So I just kept it on track, tried to keep it in the toe as much as I could, and I don't think I could have caught Jackson Dial. I think I would have lost it before I caught up to him.
I mean, obviously it's been a very big week for you, wrapping up the SFL Championship last week and then second in the Australian Open World Nationals tonight as the GSRC keep the trophy in the stable for another season just yet. What meant more to you, being able to string the full season together and edge out Brett Barker by, I think it was, 7 points in the end, or did you, on top of winning that, come here hoping to do the double, which meant more as far as you're concerned?
I think winning the championship for me, because it showed me that I can be consistent throughout a season, which is what I really enjoyed. But coming here it was nice to come and race a whole new bunch of people with SRW fellas. But I think the championship is just a little bit more meaningful to me.
You mentioned as well not being able to get some practice in. Just the fact that you didn't have. So last time we ran the Open World Nationals, it was on a circuit that the GSRC had only raced on a few weeks earlier in their SFL series. Did that compromise it a little bit further? The fact that this was a blank slate, the fact that we hadn't had a round at Mugello throughout the course of Term 4?
Um, not not really. I just sort of treated it as another round of the SFL Championship. But I had a little bit less time to practice for this one.
Yep.
So it wasn't. No, it didn't really change anything for me. I quite liked the blank slate.
I was going to say as well. I just want to point this out to everybody at home. It's got somewhat Rick Kelly vibes going about it. The Brendan Grosh Championship run that he went on throughout 10 weeks. DNF'd in round 4, won round 2, a few podium finishes along the way, but only one round win throughout the course of the season, proving yet again just how important consistency is when you're putting a 10-week championship campaign together. Josh Zuno also making the point, Brendan, that once again, it's not one of our Wings and Slicks champions. It's not one of our Wings and Slicks race winners within the series itself that's come out and held the trophy aloft in the Open World Nationals. It just goes to show how important it is to just have everything go right for you on the night.
Yeah, like there's a lot of quick guys in that GSRC field, and I was by no means the quickest of any of them on any given weekend. I just went there to try and finish as high as I could, and that's all I had in my mind. Jackson probably should have won a race or two during the season, but for whatever reason, just couldn't manage it, I guess.
Indeed. Talk to me as well. A couple of things here before I let you go and bring Jacko in, and I'm no doubt going to get the wind up from our broadcast team in just a few moments, because we know how long these post race shows can stretch out on the platforms of the GSRC once I get going, as Daniel Correa will vouch for. However, we were talking there at the start of the third safety car, mate. It looked as though the tyres were starting to somewhat screech and beg for some sort of mercy. What was the tyre wear like, or do you put that again down to the debris factor?
I think it was more down to the debris factor. I don't think my tyres weren't that bad. I did take tyres at the stop, but it would have survived the whole race. I just don't think it would have been faster.
Fair enough. And of course, no one at that point in the last 10 minutes was going to be silly enough to dive for pit lane for a fresh set of rubber. It was a case of persevering with it as you could. We were running the fuel numbers more so than we were to tyre strat. What's next for Brendan Grosh, mate, as I start to wrap this up? You mentioned your desire to race a few more of the championships on offer over on the platforms of the GSRC, but we've got 6 weeks before that becomes a real issue. We've got our Race of Champions on Sunday night, of which you are eligible to compete in, and then I guess the real question in amongst all of this is how quickly do USFL boys jump out of these and go and download the new supercar and have a play?
I'm trying to get back into the GTP a bit more for this season because ultimately that's my favorite car. It's just it's not as popular over here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably see me continuing the Super Formula Lights for next season, as well as I'm gonna dabble in the new supercars, even though I'm very bad at them. But I'm trying to convince a couple of friends to come and join. There's interest in the truck series and there's interest in the GT4 series.
Yeah.
I'd like to do some more radicals, even though I'm, again, pretty terrible in them. I just try some new things, see what I'm good at, see what I'm bad at, have a bit of fun.
And it's also, I guess, a time thing, isn't it? You've got to make sure that you've got time to be able to juggle all of that, along with your outside of sim racing commitments.
Yeah. I won't be able to commit to everything, of course, due to that time, but whenever I do have a free night, that I can race and there's a car I'm interested in and track I'm interested in, for sure I'm going to try and jump in and have a go.
Anyone else you want to thank while you're here, buddy?
Just all the guys at Frog Leap and GSRC for the wonderful season and support that they've given me. I'd like to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors at Frog Leap as well. I didn't find the list. There it is. Juiced Energy, Racecraft Simulations, Sudspeed Gloves, and Stott Hoare. And I would love to thank all sponsors at GSRC. I do not have the list for that, so I can't read them out. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I'll do that for you in just a few moments' time, mate. Don't worry too much about that. On that subject, mates, do we see you on Sunday night? Do you make an appearance for the Race of Champions?
Oh, absolutely. I'm keen for that.
Lovely. As a Super Formula Light Series winner, you're eligible for the Race of Champions. In fact, all our series winners across all 4 terms lining up on Sunday night. More details on that in just a moment before we do bail out of here and go and get some shut-eye. Look forward to seeing you then, mate, and all the best for the rest of the week in the meantime.
Thank you so much, fellas. Thank you for the evening.
And I should also point out, Hamish, we're one man lighter in the broadcast booth now.
Unfortunately, Hutto probably couldn't wait much longer. He's probably going to have his tea since he is based over in Perth. But it was great to have Hutto in here, of course, helping us with the second screen once again. So massive thanks to Hutto for that one. We have got our race winner coming up, though, Jackson Dial of Whiskey Runners Racing. He takes the second win for GSRC. We need to start. We need Phil Vella back, is what we need. We need Phil Vella back without a broken leg, mind you. Without a broken leg, full force Phil Vella.
Now
we'll drag in Heaney as well, since he's the team owner too.
Absolutely. Now, you just mentioned Perth. It would be remiss of me not to go. I always go around the grounds. The Aussie girls going for the clean sweep against the Indians, Hamish, 6 for 298 they posted. The Indians in response in the 24th over, 1 for 108. There are a bit of an uphill task ahead of them to try and reel in that final 191 in 26.5 overs. But that is being played at the beautiful Wacker ground over there in the west. So maybe Hutto's going to have his tea and then skip on down to the Wacker and catch some cricket. I'm not sure. But yeah, thanks to him very much for being part of the setup here tonight, albeit a silent one because he barely got a word in between the three of us chatterboxers. Poor bloke.
I mean, we barely got a word in last time when it was just you and me. It was almost guaranteed to only say one word this time, but no. Big thank you to Hutto. He worked really hard this last season to learn SDK and really get that production up and running for the second screen properly. It's been great working with him, and if last season's my last season with Hutto, then it's been an absolute pleasurable one. So, but hopefully I get to work with him again soon.
And you guys absolutely inspired Josh Zuno and Daniel Criasar to follow in your footsteps and do the same thing with the side-by-side over on the platforms of the GSRC. So you've done well.
Sometimes SRW, we're just trendsetters. Okay,
Channel copycat, as Eddie McGuire said a few weeks ago.
Yeah, quite possibly. I may or may not have seen it on SimSpeed at one point as well, but regardless. But no, I mean, they do it in real life. We want to try and make it as realistic as possible, but it's just a way for us to actually show off battles that we wouldn't normally get to show off. Because we might be enthralled with the battle up the front. Meanwhile, there's an absolute barn burner happening up the back that we've got to show off as well. So that's the benefit of the double screen. But we'll drag in Mr. Heaney and Mr. Dial as well, our race winner and team owner of the race winner as well, Mr. Heaney and Mr. Dial. Congratulations, Jackson. You make it 2-0 for the GSRC here in the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, taking the win out of the clutches of Danny Davidson. But I have to ask the glaring question, do you think the safety car arguably cost Danny Davidson that race?
Thanks, mate. Honestly, it's hard to say. Coming after the second last safety car, I had Aiden in my ear going, all right, we're fuel saving here. We can make it to the end. We watched Danny pull away from that second safety car and get quite a large gap. So in our heads, he wasn't making it to the end of that race. Whether he was or wasn't, I haven't asked him yet. But definitely that last safety car, my fresh tyres, I've been fuel saving as well, just sitting back and waiting. It just gave me a massive advantage coming into those last few laps.
Well, it's a pretty important thing to win. Of course, Sam Chapman won last time out in September. How does it feel to have the moniker next to your name of Australian Open Wheel Nationals champion? I mean, is it 2 seasons in a row now, Zach? The winner of this race did not win their season's championship the the season
Yes.
prior. Yeah.
Yes, a point that was very much highlighted by Josh Zuno a few moments ago, and I'm just getting a correction as well. It's a season extension for the membership, so I think that must be one term. I was just told it was a freebie, so I wasn't advised whether it was a year or a term. It seems as though, by the way, Adam Lavis is talking in our threads at the moment that it is a term. So it's a 3-month extension rather than a 12-month, but that's okay. An extension is an extension in these desperate financial times. Jacko Dial, good evening to you, mate. Congratulations. Well done. Probably one of the bigger moments for Whiskey Business Racing, least of all the GSRC, to be able to back up Sam Chapman's exploits of 3 months ago and keep the trophy in the cabinet, mate. I mentioned good luck comes in threes, doesn't it? Engaged, new home, and now an Australian Open Wheel Nationals to your name, mate. What a night you've had.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better first race win. I came into tonight not really expecting to be on the top podium. I knew I had good pace coming into it, but there's a lot of fast blokes in here. I've been having a long year of second places, especially this last season. I knew the win was in check. I didn't know if it was going to come now or next year. A big thing, I guess, tonight was knowing that in a week's time we'll be just over a year sim racing. So to try and get a win before that year was up was a big thing for me, and I've managed to do it. So yeah, awesome feeling.
Indeed. I mean, talk to me through we spoke about it only last Friday night, didn't we, with regards to the Radicals? We're talking about those, what might have been scenarios with you, and I knew that was a great source of frustration for you. Does all of that now, diminish it? Does it go to the back of the mind? Is it forgotten?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. My nerves that race were unreal. I think I was shaking from about start to finish. I had Aiden and Greg in there telling me to calm down, but it honestly does absolutely nothing for me. It feels great to get the win, but I don't know if it's going to get any easier from here on, but I'm definitely going to try and keep it up, that's for sure.
Now, as far as, Greg Heaney's here as well. We're going to have a chat to him in a moment. Actually, I'm going to bring him in now. Stay with me, Jacko. I'm coming back to you in a moment. Hey, Greg, are you up for another bottle of whiskey because of this?
I think I am, and we're going to have to teach him how to do burnouts.
Oh, no.
I did notice. I did notice, actually, on the main straight, everyone else is spinning, and Jackson seemed to have had
he was trying. He was trying. It was like, you got to flick spin it. And I was like, I did. And so, no, put the clutch in and flick spin it. And he needs some practice.
When in doubt, dump the clutch.
Exactly. Greg, coming back to you in a moment. Hamish?
I was going to say, just plant the foot, if in doubt, throttle out. Just full throttle.
I gave it some clutch dumps like the Radical, but it just doesn't quite have the power. And Greg did come down and give it the old flick spin, and I kind of got the gist from there.
So just like an English breakfast at a pub, just not enough beans, it seems.
Pretty much, mate.
Well, actually, it's funny that you blokes are talking about dropping the clutch and flick spinning it because, technically speaking, that's what contributed to the last safety car being deployed. A little bit of spin work from Doug Gowans, of course. So, Jacko, we're looking at the leaderboard. Denny Davison's in a different postcode. He's 4 seconds up the road. We're thinking, oh, geez, the boys are about to square the ledger here, and we'll go out the back door at the end of the night with the tail dangling between our legs. All of a sudden, we see Doug Gowans pointing the wrong way. He collects an inadvertent bystander on the way through, trying to rejoin the racetrack. Safety car deployed, field bunched up. Talk me through the restart because you couldn't have nailed it any better.
Mate, as soon as that safety car came out, I think we all got to be excited in the Discord there. I knew in my head straight away that this was my race to win. Aiden knew it as well.
Yep.
All race, I had cars coming up on the outside of turn 1 and clutching the inside of turn 2. I knew I had the fresher tyres. I've been saving them for that whole last stint. And yeah, I just made it happen. I was thankful he let me go through turn 2 because it was going to be quite a sketchy ride and I wasn't backing out, but we got it done.
Indeed, you did. And by a good margin in the end as well, because even though the form frontman of our SFL championship was right there with you, you managed to break clear of him. 1.2 the winning margin. So again, it just proves that you just need things to fall your way on the right night, and finally you brought some good luck. Were you worried about Brandon's presence, considering that he was the champion for the GSRC and SFL, or not?
Oh, look, coming up to that last safety car, I was quite worried about Brandon, knowing, what could happen with fuel here. I knew he'd be all right with fuel, so I was really going to have to battle with him. But as soon as I broke clear of Danny and had that 1 second gap with Brandon, I kind of knew it was in the bag. I knew there was about 3 to 4 laps to go, and our pace had pretty much been on par all night. So as long as I didn't make a big mistake, it was in the bag.
Indeed. My colleague Daniel Kuriasara has watched on and enjoyed this race with me. Any questions for Jacko before I continue on, Daniel?
Nah, mate, nothing to add. Just want to reiterate an amazing job from yourself. It was a fantastic drive, and I must say I was quite impressed with it. So with the second restart, obviously Danny managed to just get quite ahead of you off the line. You did mention, though, it was an absolute blunder, but you did mention that Aiden was in your ear telling you, like, hey, we've got to be conservative here on the fuel number. So that was something that we were discussing here in the booth. We didn't know if you guys were going to make it to the end. We had a feeling that when that third safety come out, we thought, oh, it's come back to them now for sure. They've got the fuel number. But then, yeah, on that third restart, I said it before it went. I went, you better strap in, because if I know Jackson, he's going to go for this. He's going to absolutely go for this off the line. And you did. You go around the outside. You kept that inside line. It was absolute textbook. It was fantastic, mate.
Oh, thanks for the words, mate. Yeah, look, I knew in my head I wasn't taking second place. It wasn't happening in this race, so I was indeed sending it. But yeah, coming up to that last safety car, we just got in the margin to make the end of the race. We're probably gonna be a leader clear. There was no way at full knock we were gonna make the end of the race without another safety car. So saving fuel was pretty important for us. I did have a quick chat to Brandon, and he reckoned he didn't need the fuel save at all, but he did start from the back, so who knows what the slipstream might have caused for him there. But yeah, overall, I was so happy when that last safety car came out. It really was all guns blazing. Let's get to the end.
Now, Jacko, whilst we've still got you, and I'm going to go to Greg in just a moment, the other comment that the boys were making here in the commentary box was fuel. I mean, whether you were being conservative or not, I think the third safety car just about quashed any concerns or qualms that anyone might have had with the fuel numbers, right or wrong?
Yeah, completely right.
Perfect. I always like it when it adds up. I want to make sure that I'm right before I say it, but the joys of live broadcasting, you can't always guarantee that. Hey, talk me through what this means for you, least of all the Whiskey Business Racing stable. I mean, for so long, the guy in your ears tonight, Aidan Luthwaite, who was a star performer here until he got outdone by some different fuel strat numbers at Silverstone in the first Open World Nationals. He had been the pin-up boy, the golden, stable mate of Whiskey Business Racing for quite some time. You've now joined him on the top step of the summit because you've managed to bring a bit of silverware, not just back to the club, but to the team as well, mate. So tell me exactly what this means for you and how it fuels the fire for 25.
Oh, mate, it's absolutely massive. The boys have always told me I'm quick and I had a chance, especially coming into the later stage of the season, having plenty of good results and not clutching the win definitely hurt me. And the boys kept bringing it up almost every race. But yeah, to finally, get on that top step and actually have something next to my name and prove, that I am one of the quick drivers of this team is definitely something pretty cool to have.
Mugello was an interesting choice because, as we've said all along, every time we visit this venue, it's more synonymous for the Italian round of MotoGP more than anything else. But thankfully, there was a round of Formula One back here in 2020 that probably lit the fire in the iRacing office to get the track scanned and onto their platform. Is it a circuit that I mean, obviously, you can be a little bit biased here now because the results fallen your way. But when you looked at the circuit tonight, was it one that you were instantly happy about, or you were a little bit skeptical about?
Oh, absolutely, mate. You know, when Silverstone got chosen last time, it definitely hurt a little bit
Yep.
because it's not a great track for me. So to see Mugello come down like that, I was absolutely thrilled. And coming into practice for the last week, you know, I'd constantly been top of the time boards, and I think that's really showed. You know, when I like something and I'm happy to drive it, the results definitely are there for me, and yeah, prove that tonight.
Anyone else that you want to thank? I mean, I'm going to get you to stick around, mate, because I've got one or two more questions for you here before we go out of the post-race show and into the wrap-up stage of the broadcast. But I want to have a chat with your team boss in just a tick. But before I do that, anyone that you want to thank at this particular point in time?
Definitely the GSRC. You know, I've been racing there all year. It's been the only league I've pretty much been in this year, and it's always been great racing every night. It's run really well. It's always a good atmosphere. And then also, of course, Whiskey Business Racing and Greg. They've always got my back. Always happy to help or just have a chat and be there for the boys. Yeah, I can't wait for next year. It's gonna be a stellar year.
And Greg, stay with me, Jacko. I'll come back to you in a tick, mate. Greg, despite the fact that it has been a rather expensive week for your hip pocket, 2 bottles of whiskey being being purchased, how proud are you of this bloke, and how proud are you of the entire stable? What a stellar week it's been to wrap up an extraordinary year. I mean, yes, the icing on the cake will be if one of your stable mates can wrap up a Race of Champions victory on Sunday night on the platforms of the GSRC. More on that in a moment, of course. But to see Aiden wrap up the Downforce Legends and now Jacko take out the race of the Australian Open World Nationals, I should say, you couldn't ask for a better week for the Whiskey Business Racing stable.
Oh, look, I can't be happier for the guys. Well done to Aiden. Well done to Jackson for tonight. And it's always good to chalk up another one for the club on the board against one of the other largest clubs within Australia. No hard feelings to SRW. Well done to all the guys that partook in tonight's racing. It was good racing all the way through the field. Not the best night for myself, but no, definitely very, very happy with the results for both the club and for the team. And yeah, you're correct. It's probably going to be an expensive weekend this week or next week when I can get online and order said bottles of whiskey. If I keep saying this too loud, my team is going to implode because I'm going to end up with so many more people that decide to want some, and then they're going to all jump over.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, you've led me right into the next point, Greg. Firstly, 'tis the season to be jolly. Just write it off as a Christmas expense, mate. You'll be right. And secondly, Hamish, I had to clarify for him earlier that we weren't going on some sort of recruitment drive here at the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, but the key recruitment driver within the club is actually in the house at the moment. It is Greg Heaney, because that Whiskey Business Racing stable has grown term on term all year long, hasn't it, mate?
Yep, and might as well put it out there. We're in talks with Frog Leap Juiced as well to with the possible merger that's happening. It looking good at this point in time. So should it all go through and everything go to plan, we're probably going to double in size by the time start of term 1 next year.
Term 1 next year cannot come quick enough. I think we're back on. I'm yet to get a cemented date from Adam Lavis, but if this year is any indication, it'll be Monday, January 20, of course, the middle Monday of the Australian Open in Melbourne. So there'll be a little bit of that mega walling around the ground sort of stuff going on because I'll have one eye on Melbourne Park, Greg. But no, looking forward to it immensely.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, I don't know if ads will tell me off or not, but you are correct with that date.
Yes.
For
2 from 2 so far in this post-race show.
I think the lead-up weekend, we're yet to be confirmed, being within the GSRC committee, yet to be confirmed. The lead-up weekend will be the first round of Mountain Men, I believe. Just got to get confirmation on that, which is going to be held in our next meeting a couple of weeks before the start of next season, just to polish off and a few things and cross all the I's and dot all the T's and so forth and whatever else it is. But yeah, no, again, thanks for SRW putting this on. Thanks to the GSRC, yourself and Hamish and Dan for the commentary.
Yep.
And yeah, on to the next one.
I was going to say, apologies to the SRW boys because they're facilitating the broadcast, but we're just doing our internal housekeeping here on your platforms as we would normally do over on our own, mate. Apologies for that. But secondly, Greg, I mean, this just fills the stable with confidence to grow and go a little bit further and strive for a little bit more in 2025. And what a formidable combo to have your dream front runner in the IndyCar series and the Radicals in the year of the guy that's just won the Australian Open World Nationals for you and the club.
Yeah, no, it was, yes, it was unfortunate for Aiden not to be on the grid tonight. That would have made 6 cars from GSRC in our colours, which would have looked really, really good. We still had a quarter of the cars. The extra one would have been nice, but yeah, unfortunately, Aiden was a little bit under the weather tonight. So I said, look, if you can't race, jump in either Jackson or Mark's ear and crew chief for him. He was actually crew chiefing for Jackson and Mark at the same time. So he was, doing a phenomenal job running the numbers and everything like that. So yeah, credit to Aiden for chipping in, even though he was a little bit under the weather and unable to jump on the track tonight.
And I mean, before we hand back to Hamish to start putting a full stop on this one, and I know we've still got to do sponsor thank yous and look aheads and all that sort of stuff, but quickly, you mentioned the rest of the stable. Sean Benici was out there, yourself as well. I mean, there were a couple of drivers. There were several drivers outside your stable that tripped up tonight, had some moments. Sean, of course, had an early unscheduled pit stop as well. And you, I think we saw you off track at 1.2, mate. So not a straightforward night at the office, but talk us through it from your perspective and how the rest of the team fared as well, noting that I think Dane Snadden finished just outside the top 10 after also having to pit early.
Yeah, no, look, I haven't spoken to all the boys post-race yet. Obviously, doing some celebratory burnouts and then jumping across over here. It was unfortunate for the guys that got caught up in the early incidences through the first few corners and so forth. I did see a couple of our guys off in the sand trap with a couple of bent cars. For myself, I was happy to get to the end without breaking my car. But the new debris model certainly makes racing in open wheel cars interesting to say the least. Whereas I think in a sports car, you're probably going to be a little bit more forgiving, being that they're a little bit heavier and they're probably going to react a bit differently to a bit of gravel on the road. And if you do come in contact with the tyre wall, you're probably not going to rip it in half. But we shall wait and see on that one.
Indeed. Well, I was going to say there was one car that was willing to test the theory otherwise. That triggered safety car number 2, as we know, as well. I mean, obviously, the Race of Champions is the next assignment for the stablemate on Sunday, but no doubt you'll be already hard at work painting some new supercars. How quickly do you jump out of the booth here and go and dabble in them for a little bit before, no doubt, getting some shut-eye tonight?
Well, looking at the time, I'll probably pass on turning some laps in the supercar tonight. I am getting John Simpson from Flash Graphics to do me a base paint model for the supercar for us. And then I'm just going to sticker it up and recolor it to suit what we need. And then waiting for my new shifter to arrive so I can really give the supercar's neck and test it out and run some numbers and so forth for next season.
All right, mate. Very nicely done. Of course, our Open Wheel Nationals, I hope, haven't been overshadowed by the launch of the Gen 3 Supercar today, because it has been all the bloody rage, all the talk within club social platforms and Discord channels for days on end. And no doubt the teaser that dropped from iRacing last week and the video that dropped this morning would have amplified that somewhat. Jacko, I know you're still here with us. Greg, thank you. We'll chat to you offline in just a few moments. Jacko, 2025, what has it got in store for you? No doubt you'll be an Open Wheel Nationals to come and defend around April, I would imagine, Easter time. But I know you mentioned last Friday night you're on the move, you're packing up, you're getting all that stuff sorted. Where else do you want to apply your trade as far as sim racing is concerned in 2025?
Mate, a big one for me and I guess the team, Aiden, Mark, and also Fred. We're looking at our enduros coming into 2025. I know we've got our sight set on the blackout 12 hour this Sunday. We're looking good coming into that. And then moving into 2025, I think the next big one for us is going to be the OSR 12 hour at Bathurst. So, yeah, that's my current sim racing plans. Of course, be back racing with the GSRC, most likely on Friday nights. And then we're also choosing to dabble as a team into the V8 Supercars on Monday with the launch of Gen 3. So pretty excited for that. It's going to be a whole new learning curve for me.
And of course, it's awesome that we've got a great rapport now with our colleagues over at SRW, mate. Hopefully, this Australian Open World Nationals runs well into the future, and maybe encourages some other clubs out there to join forces and do the same thing or something similar.
100%, mate. Honestly, this was one of the best races I've partaken in this season. It was super clean racing. There was quite a few overtakes that happened tonight, and not once did I feel like something was going to go poorly. There was plenty of room left, and yeah, a lot of respect from everyone. So I can't thank SRW and GSRC enough, and you guys in the booth as well. It's been an awesome night.
Now, and the other thing as well, I'm just going to put this out there, and the club committee can have at me, on Sunday night if they so please. But if winning the Australian Open World Nationals for the club doesn't get this guy a cameo on the grid on Sunday night in the Race of Champions, I'm not here. But well done, Jacko. Terrific stuff, mate. I'm sure there's something I've forgotten along the way here, but we are probably over time. We're pushing 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Well done to you. An extraordinary year. The best yet to come. We know sim racing's not had to take a back seat with other stuff that's been going on with the bride to be and the house purchase and everything else going on. What a way to finish off a character building year and a confidence boost for you to go bigger and better in 2025, mate. Well done. Open Wheel National Champion for Term 4 of 2024.
I had my mic muted. Thank you, mate. Yeah, very much appreciated. It's great feeling. What a way to end the year. I look forward to next year. Cheers, guys.
Indeed. And if you don't think for a split second that the boys are going to go and dabble in a glass of whiskey to celebrate, yes, you don't know them well enough. And secondly, I dare say there's a few of their club members already turning laps in those brand new supercars. As I say, it has been all the chatter throughout the course of the day. I'm going to throw back to Hamish in just a moment, but as I do, I will, because I know he's going to wrap up the broadcast as a whole and send us out of here and tick the boxes from an SRW standpoint. But I just want to tick the box from the GSRC standpoint and get some final thoughts and comments from our good mate Daniel Correas. Mate, that was an awesome night for us.
It was, absolutely. It was teetering on the edge there. Danny Davidson really did have a commending lead throughout the majority of that race, but unfortunately, as things happen in racing, took a turn. We had a late safety car, and Jack Stoll came out on top. Again, it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to commentate here alongside you and Hamish. I thank the SRW for everything that they've done. In order of getting this together and bringing the leagues together. I reckon it's a fantastic thing. And as you mentioned before, I really hope that this continues well into the future. So, all good for me.
Do we get to see you on Sunday night, or is that you tapping out for the year now?
So, look, I don't deserve to be in that race. Let's be honest. Unfortunately... Yeah, well, right. So I can actually compete in the Race of Champions,
right?
Because I did legitimately win a season of Mountain Men. So,
yes.
Unfortunately, my time is quite limited. So, if I can squeeze it, by all means, I will definitely pop by in the booth and watch it. I'll definitely be watching it regardless, but whether or not I'll be able to jump in from a commentary perspective is still up in the air.
All right, mate. Well, if we don't see you on Sunday night, it's been a pleasure sharing the booth with you on a Thursday night all throughout the course of the year. I feel a little bit out of sync here being on a Wednesday night, but terrific to share the booth with you throughout the course of the season. We've called some spectacular racing tonight, right up there with it. Such drama from first until last. All the best to you for Christmas and the new year, and we look forward to going around again in 2025, mate. Go well.
100% back at you.
There he is, Daniel Caressa. We, on the platforms of the GSRC, could not do it without the great support, ongoing support of people like Sprite and Cider, Waste Options, Orbic Australia, Bowen's the Builder's Choice, JJZ Constructions, merch.tgsrci.com, and Wave Australia, and Flash Graphics. And I had my phone open for a reason. I was trying to bloody well work out why, Hamish, as I throw back to you. We finish up for the year on Sunday night, as I say. Nick Fodiatis has been hard at work behind the scenes, one of our dedicated lifelong members of the platforms of the GSRC. He has been hard at work getting things ready for this weekend, the Race of Champions. And of course, this is an event that we hold annually at the end of the calendar year. Not a hit and giggle fun sort of night at the office. It's fun for us in the broadcast booth, but it's elbows out, hard door-to-door racing, because that elusive GSRC ROC title is on the line. It looks as though I've just had confirmation come through messages the other day, and I just want to confirm for everybody at home, it'll be a 3-leg broadcast. It'll be across dirt, rallycross, and circuit. It'll be getting underway, and I need to make sure that we're right with this. It's an earlier start than what it usually be. It's 5:45 Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday afternoon. I did protest. I said 6:50 would have been perfect because that stumps at the Gabba. But let's hope for some rain in Brisbane so that all eyes are on the GSRC. Race of Champions Sunday night, 5:50 Eastern Daylight Time, just to alleviate anyone that might have an early start on Monday morning, and the likes, Nick being one of those people. 3 Race of Champion legs for you, back to back to back, and we're looking forward to it. The best of the best within the club throughout the course of the year who have won a championship in any given number of the 4 terms. There are multiple champions lining up. We cannot wait. Sunday night, what a way to bring the curtain down on an extraordinary 2024, including 2 victories in the Australian Open World Nationals, which have really only been decided in the last 10 minutes each time. And let's hope that it's the same recipe and ingredients thrown into the mix when we do this again on 4 occasions in 2024, 5, I should say. Hamish, it's been one of the great additions to the calendar. We've enjoyed it. I mean, obviously we wear our heart on our sleeve, and we smiled tonight because Jacko's, flying the flag for the GSRC and made it 2 from 2. But at the end of the day, it means more to those guys out there on the racetrack. We get the best seat in the house. We get to ride the waves of emotions with them and have fun along the way. But really, the hard work, the dedication of those guys is what we tip the hat to. It's not us. It's not us versus you in that respect. It's the drivers versus the drivers, and we just get to enjoy this for what it is, which is an extraordinary event between 2 very competitive clubs. And as I throw back to you and say thanks to you and Hutto for your efforts throughout the course of the evening and the year as well, and it's been great teaming up with you again. The hard luck stories, there are dozens of them within this field tonight. You had to stay out of trouble. Dial and Grosh and DeBono, well, DeBono didn't even do that. Dial and Grosh certainly did. Their reward is 1 and 2, but it's a case of what might have been for far too many in that order.
Yeah, there was, you think of the likes of Yemen, Sinise, for 1 apiece of the GSRC and SRW.
Yes.
There was heartbreaks aplenty. Also, the guys who didn't even finish the race either, the likes of Gallo, Sheaf, Baldwin, Caldwell, Davis Noble.
Yep.
They were all part of that as well. But no, I mean, it was a massive event once again. No matter if GSRC won or if SRW had won this event, it was still going to be massive. I still am in the belief this was better than the first outing.
Yes.
Not because I'm not the biggest fan of Silverstone, but I actually think this one just turned it up to another level. I think this race, it had a little bit of everything. Obviously, debris played a big part of it as well. Another buzzword for anyone playing at home. But no, I think this race is getting bigger and better every single time we head out on track together. I think next season's going to be even bigger and better again. And I'm so looking forward to it. I mean, this is our last stream for the year for SRW. We have got a race running on Sunday night in the Gen 3 car, just as a fun hosted event. It'll be open to anyone to come and join, to be out at Bathurst. So we'll probably run a couple of them for anyone wanting to run in the Gen 3 for the first time on Sunday out at Bathurst. Whether there'll be other tracks on offer, I'm not sure. That'll be up to Sinker.
I've heard of that place
Yeah,
before.
yeah, I know. I didn't think it was that popular
Sounds
outside of
familiar.
Australia, but
Yeah.
yeah. Just a little local place, but no, that'll be a bit of fun for us. We get going again Tuesday, January 28th. That'll be our first round of supercars on the Tuesday, brought to you by Warren and Brown Tools. We'll get